Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, back at you with a new video. Today is Saturday, October 11th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App, $ ORION NWSF, or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers versus the number 3 Oregon Ducks. Kickoff is going to be here in roughly 5 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get settled in for some college football this Saturday afternoon. The 10 obviously is making a mark, in college football, kind of the new powerhouse over the SEC, but I'm definitely looking forward to the Mendoza, Dante Moore matchup, and definitely looking forward to see what we get here at the end of this afternoon. And then as anybody knows, if you ended up watching, the Mariners and the Tigers go at it in the longest postseason extra inning game ever. Obviously, the voice is a little raspy. Definitely had some tea and some honey to try to help out. Big game tomorrow with the Buccaneers and the Niners, both trying to continue their dominance in the NFC. And then we obviously have the ALCS game number 1 with the Seattle Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays. So I really want to do the Buccaneer and Niner game tomorrow. It's on around 1-ish, but I have a feeling I'm not going to have a voice. So I'm probably just going to do this particular game, rest my voice, spend time with the pup, and then I'll watch the Buccaneers and the Niners on my own free time. I want to make sure I have a voice, for the ALCS between the Mariners and the Blue Jays. I don't want to get into that particular stream and have nothing left. So I think that would be the smart call. Anytime you end up having a stream that ends up being, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, you got to give your voice a little bit of a break, especially if you are going to be passionate with emotion. And I imagine there's going to be some emotions that are going to be out here today. Mendoza and Moore, 2 of the top 5, in the Heisman finalist top 5 at the moment. Obviously, we know Carson Beck, will be in the mix. There's a guy on Ohio State at wide receiver who is damn good as well. Jeremiah Smith, that's going to be in the mix, as well as Alabama's quarterback. But it kind of feels at this moment, Bama's quarterback is maybe going a little bit further back. And then obviously with Mendoza, Moore, Carson Beck, and Jeremiah Smith, those kind of feel like the final 4. But things can change, and you can also get new guys to come up at any given moment. So definitely excited for this opportunity. Indiana is very good. They're the only team that is in the country that's in the top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams. So is this a game that Oregon could lose? You bet your ass they could. Now, we know how good we are at Autzen. We're very, very good. But again, this Indiana team is legit. I watched them last year go against Ohio State. Sarah's in the room. We watched that one last year together. And even though Indiana lost, they definitely impressed. And again, I know this is going to be a good matchup. 5-0 Indiana Hoosiers, 7th in the nation. Good for them. And obviously we're 5-0, the Oregon Ducks, number 3 in the nation. And I'm kind of, surprised that I have any kind of voice, after, grinding out that long win. And it would have been devastating, to go that whole way and lose. So thankfully we got the job done. And again, looking forward to some amazing college football today. Looking forward to some amazing NFL tomorrow, as well as the ALCS game 1 with the Blue Jays and the Mariners. And again, I'm literally looking forward to, after this game is over, I'm going to be locked in watching the Brewers and the Cubs. I assume the Brewers are going to win. They won 2 games at home. The Cubs won 2 games at their home, and we're going back to Milwaukee. So something's got to give. Are the Cubs good enough to win 3 in a row? Yes, they are. But will they? That's the big question. And I assume that Milwaukee will find a way with their fan base to squeak it out, just like they did with Seattle at T-Mobile last night. And I assume the Final Four will be the Brewers and Dodgers, a very even matchup, with the Blue Jays and Mariners on the American League side, a very even matchup. So, again, very exciting times to be able to play relevant baseball, this late in October. Not something us Mariner fans are used to, but I'm definitely looking forward to this Indiana-Oregon matchup as well. Sarah in the building, what's good? Cool Kid in the building, what's good? Jordan in the building, what's good? Oh, man, I know that you popped in a little bit late. I ended up doing a couple of those Reds Dodger matchups, for you, and I didn't know if you were going to be busy or not, but I ended up doing a couple of those matchups when the Mariners were off, and we obviously knew the Reds were heavy underdogs, but to even get in, congratulations on that. Jacob in the building, what's good? I'm looking forward to this. And again, preparation was made. Definitely had to drink tea. Definitely had to have the honey. And again, I'm gonna have to kind of monitor my emotions. I'm not gonna change who I am. I'm definitely gonna get into this. But again, I want to make sure I have a voice for tomorrow. Now, depending on how I feel tomorrow, is there a small chance that I do the Niners and the Buccaneers? Yes. But again, it probably is into, my best interest just to watch it with Paisley, on my own time, not do a stream. So that way I can give everything I have, for the ALCS game 1. And then, again, normally you don't have games that go 5, 6, 7, 8 hours long. But I remember I did do that Blue Jay game in 2022 where we went 18 innings and we lost 1-0. And I'm so happy that if you end up doing a 7 or 8 hour stream and then you lose, there's nothing worse. So I'm really happy that, in 15 innings, we were able to get the job done, and, definitely reminiscing back with those days with Edgar Martinez and Ken Griffey Jr. or Jorge Polanco. I mean, again, we all want, Cal Raleigh and Julio, to be the guy to make the big play at the end. But again, Polo has been so clutch lately, and we are so thankful that we ended up re-signing him, because he wasn't good for us with Mitch Garver last year, but he has been the unsung hero in the postseason. There's no doubt about that. And we're getting ready to get started here. Number 7, Indiana. Number 3, Oregon. Let's go. And again, this one was circled on the calendar, just like Penn State was. And congratulations to the Washington Huskies for playing so well last night. Obviously, a lot of Husky fans and Mariner fans were a little torn, to what to watch and what to tune into. But the Huskies and Damon Williams is absolutely fantastic with Jonah Coleman, as well as, Boston, the wide receiver. And again, David Boston's son, Denzel Boston, is a stud. And the Huskies, last game of the year in Seattle. Oregon is going to have to go there, and that is another potential, I don't even want to say trap game, because the Huskies are amazing. They're a really good team. And again, if we end up dropping a game here today and dropping a game to the Huskies, and we end up playing all the way through, in the tourney like the Buckeyes did, so be it. Obviously, going undefeated, you don't really get the luxury of feeling good, because if you end up having 2, 3, weeks off or a month, just like all the teams did that had the bye last year in the college football playoff, what happened? Every one of them, including Oregon, lost. So it kind of shows you that the system is a little flawed. It's actually kind of better at this point to lose a game or two, as long as you're still in the tourney, and then, play consistently week in and week out like the Ohio State Buckeyes did last year. And that's how you win the Natty. If you end up, going undefeated, for example, and then having a month off, the chemistry and the continuity go away. And that team that's been playing week in and week out, even if they are not as good as you, they might be able to beat you. And hopefully things will change, as the years go along. But again, it won't hurt my feelings if Oregon drops a game or two during the regular season. At the end of the day, do we want to go undefeated? Of course. but the main goal is to win a natty. And if that means that we got to drop a game or two to win it, rather than going undefeated again in Big Ten play and losing in the first round, I would rather lose 1 or 2 games in the regular season and go all the way than go undefeated, have a month off, and then say goodbye to the season. So, and this team is so much better than last year's team as well. So we got a lot more depth, and we're hungry. And again, it's the first time that all 3 of my teams have been this good, like championship worthy, right, in 25 years. Seattle Mariners are obviously on the brink of possibly making the World Series. If they get past the Blue Jays, they're in the Final Four in the ALCS. Awesome. Oregon is one of the top teams in the country with the Buckeyes and a few others. They have a chance, to win the Natty. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a legit Super Bowl contender. So very, very exciting. And I know the Kraken and the Blazers are kind of young, and again, they're not going to be as good as those other 3 teams, but they're kind of up and coming, the Kraken and the Blazers. They may or may not make the playoffs this year, but pretty soon, they should. And again, that'll be a happy time, obviously, not only for myself, but, individuals that rep those teams, as Oregon is coming out of the tunnel. And I'm really liking the uniform combo with the black and obviously with the green helmet here today. Cody in the building, what's good? And I appreciate you getting the Dono train started. Stacks, Racks with a little Cactus Jack, bang, bang. Appreciate you. We're at 199 to go on the Dono train. Appreciate you. And I want to shout out, all of the individuals that ended up watching with us last night, all the people that hit that like button, all the people that subbed. We gained, about 200. And again, we were getting flooded with donos at the end and during the stream that I couldn't get to, things that were on Venmo and Cash App as well. So I want to, just say a big thank you to every single person that, has been riding with us, from years ago or even just recently. And all those people that sub, donated, commented, shared, not only yesterday, but everything that we've been able to do here. This is our breakout year in 2025. And again, when you got 3 teams that are championship caliber, that definitely doesn't hurt. And that'll definitely bring some more eyes to the channel. And I'm very grateful and blessed for that as well. Alec in the building, what's good? And I ended up talking to my boy, Brian, who ends up making these Oregon Duck chains. And he's got a brand new one out that is clear and it lights up with different colors and it flashes, with yellow and green and all these other colors and whatnot. So I told him I'm going to put an order in, and then he's going to actually drop by my place and hand deliver it. And he's going to give me an alternate chain like this one. So it'll come with the silver, but I'll get an alternate black chain with it as well. Super excited. I haven't seen Brian. Shout out to Brian. I haven't seen him in a while. Huge Duck fan. Officially licensed merch through the Oregon Ducks. Collegiate Art Designs. Again, if you are a Duck fan, go to the website, and again, you'll be able to see duck chains, yellow, green, white, black, pink, you name it, all of the different variations. And then again, he does signage, a lot of custom work. And then for a lot of the high school, junior high, and colleges, he'll end up making custom chains, for these individuals as well, which is pretty cool. Obviously a very, very talented guy, and I definitely will be repping him every single day. Big facts. Go Ducks. But I'm definitely looking forward to the that new chain. And again, some of the signage that he has down the road, I may try to get one as well. He's got this really massive, huge duck sign that I could actually put up in the studio that flashes and has different colors and kind of lights up. It takes a lot of time and energy and effort to come out with an amazing product like that. But I'll start off with the chain first. And then once I end up meeting up with him, then we'll debut it here on the streams. Maybe, depending on what game, I end up getting it, but definitely we'll be wearing it during the Oregon-Washington rivalry matchup at the end of the year. And hopefully it'll give us a little bit of good luck moving forward as well. Number 7, Indiana Hoosiers, 5-0, 2-0 in Big Ten play. Number 3, Oregon Ducks, 5-0, 2-0 in Big Ten play. And we have, 2 of the best teams in the country in the top 10. Dante Moore is the front runner for the Heisman, but guess what? Fernando Mendoza, he is as well. His numbers are ridiculous, okay? 16 touchdowns, 1 pick. And then Dante Moore is at 14 touchdowns and 1 pick. Ridiculous, okay? And we know Damon Williams on the Huskies and a lot of the other quarterbacks like Sayan on Ohio State are amazing as well. But again, this is the first time that we're playing a team that is in the top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams. They're the only team in the country that is actually top 10 in all 3. So we know we got our hands full. Indiana has had a kind of a tough stretch, beating top 5, top 10 teams. We're 22-1, obviously, in recent matchups under Dan Lanning. We know Dan arguably is the best coach in college football. He's definitely a great motivator. We know that Ryan Day and a few others are amazing as well, like Kirby Smart. But I think it's pretty safe to say that he is a top 3 coach. And again, he's not going anywhere. Now, obviously, if Georgia fires Kirby Smart, the first target they'll go after is Dan Lanning, because he was the defensive coordinator there when they were winning natties. But again, he's got a mission, and hopefully we can end up winning a natty or 2 if he decides to go back home at some point. But I am ready for this matchup here. Great football weather, and Indiana looking sharp out there. Let's get it, baby. Shout out to Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube. It's on CBS. So that's where I would go to watch the game if you have access to that. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube. And here we go. Yeah, last time that, Oregon obviously has had some tough matchups with the Huskies and whatnot. So, and again, I respect them. They're very good this year. And again, that is a potential game that we could lose just like today. But again, just like Penn State, it may have to come to overtime. But again, we prevailed, and it definitely felt good. But this is going to be a different challenge. This might be even a tougher matchup than Penn State, just because how well-rounded Indiana is. Shotgun set. Dante Moore. Pressure off the edge. And it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And the Hoosiers getting off to a fast start with a sack lunch on the first play. Not ideal. Now, am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised because, again, this is the only team in the country that's in the top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams. This is going to be a war. This is going to be a battle, just like last night with the Tigers and the Mariners. Second down and 17, man in motion, handoff up the middle. And looks like he gained about 6-7 yards there. Noah Whittington, great to see him finally in the lineup. Green Bean in the building, what's good? Again, I'm a huge collector. I usually go to games and, I'm always kind of linked in with, individuals, players, former players and whatnot. But those were actually something that I ended up getting through a special private eBay auction way back in the day. And they're actually game used from the Natty when we played Cam Newton in 2010. There we go, bouncing it to the outside. First down, Ducks. Gary Bryant Jr., just like on the thumb, getting it done. 13 yards, first down, Ducks. But they were player worn from a wide receiver in that game. And then I even got the box to go with it, which is probably one of the most rarest things that you will ever see that hung up in the locker. And again, I got a couple different versions. I got like actually game used player worn, those. And then I also have special edition fan issued gloves that are kind of like that neon yellow green, but I usually wear those at the games because if I wear it here on stream with a green screen, it gets distorted. So I can't wear them. Shotgun set on first down and 10. Handoff up the middle. And a nice tackle there on Noah Whittington. Looks like he gained a few yards there. Scotty Mack in the building. What's good? Absolutely. Yeah, this is through Oregon Ducks. It's not through, just some random person. So they're not fake. Nice try, though. Little check down. I mean, even former players have hit me up to see if I wanted to buy their merch, like Jalen Jelks and a few others. So, they know that, I rep the Ducks. I go to the games. I'm on YouTube and whatnot, and I'm a big collector. I'm never going to buy anything fake of Oregon, my guy. Plus, they're very, very rare, and there's nobody that's going to have the box that goes with it unless it's player issued. Third down and 2. And Dante trying to get that first down, but getting stood up. Nice tackle there by the Hoosiers. Yeah, Texas and Penn State obviously started off in the preseason, poll very, very high. Both are unranked now, which is pretty crazy, but, Yeah, and again, if you go on eBay and you have a seller that is reliable, there might be some fake things that are out there, but you can always look at the transactions and the rating of the individual you're buying from. That usually is the way to figure out if things are good and legit or not. 4th down and 1. And he did not get it. Wow. And I'm not sure if I would have called and ran that particular play, but Hoosiers showing how good they are on defense already early. And again, if we're going to have this mentality, we're going to go for it on 4th and 1, 4th and inches, no matter what, no matter where we're on the field, it's going to come back to bite us. And it did already here early. And again, the offensive line for Oregon has been good. The defense has been good. The skill position players have been fantastic. But again, we haven't played a team that's been this well-rounded up to this point all year. Top 10 on D, top 10 on O, and top 10 on special teams. And that top 10 D, imposing its will early with that big stop on 4th and 1. Great job by the Hoosiers. Let's go, baby. Glad I have a voice of some kind or another. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 300 likes, 100 on the dono train, and let's see if we can gain 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. Zero here early on between the Hoosiers and the Ducks. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube, my boy. No, I'm not going to do the Brewers and Cubs because I need to save my voice, for tomorrow. Especially, when you end up doing 5, 6, 7 hour streams for just one, it takes everything out of you. And, you want to make sure that I have the proper energy tomorrow. And I want to do the Niners and the Bucks tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to probably have a voice if I do that and try to do the ALCS with the Blue Jays and Mariners. So, but again, I'll see, if I keep drinking tea and, having some honey here and there and resting my voice, I might be able to do both of them tomorrow. But I'm going to watch the Brewers beat the Cubs today, more than likely. But yeah, we won't do a stream for that. So. But we will be live tomorrow in the evening for the Mariners and the Blue Jays at the ALCS Game 1. But again, we'll see how I feel in the morning. And if I have time to make a thumbnail, then I possibly might do Niners and Bucks. Looking forward to that matchup. Both teams with only a loss. Baker has been baking. But again, will it all depend on my voice? Tomorrow we play around 5 o'clock Pacific for the Mariners and the Blue Jays in the ALCS in Toronto. First down and 10 for Fernando Mendoza, a top 5 Heisman finalist. 16 touchdowns, 1 pick. Floater, wide open towards the sideline. First down, Hoosiers. And again, this is going to be more of a challenge than Penn State, I feel. Again, Penn State gave us everything that they had, and it was definitely a back and forth war, and it took, to go to overtime to get that pick late. But even though we're at home here, I feel like this one might be even tougher, just based on how well-rounded the Hoosiers are with their offense, defense, and special teams all in the top 10. And I think Mendoza's a little bit better than Aller there on Penn State, at least up to this point. Floater and complete. Back to the end zone, second down and 10 here for the Hoosiers. Let's go. I don't think anyone would be shocked if Indiana wins, though. Handoff up the middle. And good defense there by the Ducks. I'm really liking the green helmet, green pants, black jersey combo. Every week, it's something a little bit different. And that's really what makes Oregon special. Again, it's being innovative, being stylish. You look good, you feel good, you play good. And again, for a guy like myself that's been a fan of this team back in the day when they used to only win 1 or 2 games a year, back in the 80s, it's great to be able to see how far they've come, even from the Joey Harrington era, in the late 90s, early 2000s till now. Last 25, years have been pretty special. Third down and 7. Shotgun set for Fernando Mendoza. Floater towards the sideline. Incomplete, broken up. There we go. Fourth down and 7 at the Oregon 19. I mean, there's going to be people that don't really know that Indiana's top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams, the only, team in the country that is. I mean, again, they're 7, Oregon's 3. They're both 5-0. So again, the Big Ten is the best conference in college football. It used to be the SEC, but I think, there are some teams in the middle and the bottom that aren't that great, but you could say the same for the SEC as well. But there's more quality, I think on the top to the middle with the Big Ten, team for team than the SEC at this point. Field goal is up and good. 3-0 Hoosiers. But if you go back to the Rich Brooks era and then the Mike Bellotti era, and we've started to get a little bit of shine, obviously, going against Penn State in 94 with Kajana Carter. Yeah, we lost, but that was the first kind of breakout moment for Oregon Duck football. And obviously the big pick on the Huskies with Kenny Wheaton that kind of got us to that point. And again, then things got better, getting better recruits, going through Achilles Smith, to kind of give us a glimmer of what could be. And then getting Joey Harrington, captain comeback was great. And again, we just been building and building. And again, we're very hungry. We know that a natty is on the horizon, and we just don't know when. And again, we know that Alabama and Georgia used to be the kings, with Ohio State normally sitting in third. But now things have kind of shifted. We don't have Harbaugh at Michigan. We don't have Saban in Alabama. Georgia is still really good, but Alabama has kind of scaled back. Obviously, Ohio State, still is always dominant. They always have been. And again, they won the Natty last year. They're the best team in the country right now. And, if you want to end up winning a Natty, you're probably going to have to go through the Buckeyes, right? So again, we're here for the challenge. I know Indiana and some other teams in the Big Ten are as well. And again, a great showcase matchup here early between the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers and the number 3 Oregon Ducks. We got to get the offense flowing. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 200 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. Yeah. And again, recruiting has been, much different, with Dan Lanning. And obviously Chip Kelly was the best coach that we've ever had, up to getting Dan Lanning. But, Dan is getting to a point where, if he can end up winning a natty, and surpassing, a lot of the great things that Chip did, but getting LaMichael James and DeAnthony Thomas was huge. We never had players like that. And obviously Chip was a great innovator, much better suited for the college game than the pros, but to go to a Rose Bowl, a Natty, a Rose Bowl, and a Fiesta Bowl back then, for us, that was unheard of. And again, we're very proud of what Chip was able to bring, to Oregon football. And now we got a guy that we feel that can even be, better than Chip, which is kind of a crazy thing to say, but we definitely believe in Dan Lanning. He's a top 3 coach in college football, a great motivator, a great recruiter, just a great human being. And again, it's just great to be able to have, a player coach like that. Lanning, 870 win percentage, Ryan Day's 882, top 2 in college football. That's pretty nice. And again, we don't want to win just Big Ten titles. We want to win the whole thing. And I don't know, sometimes I kind of wish that the Pac-12 with all the regular teams were still there. I felt it was a little bit more competitive, through the top to the bottom than the Big Ten. If you look at the teams in the middle and the bottom of the Big Ten, some are terrible. And, in the Pac-12 back in the day, you could end up having the Beavers or the Cougs or California Bears or Stanford, and they could upset, Oregon or USC or Washington, on any given week, because it was that much more well-rounded, based on the recruiting and the coaching and, what they had there. But now, with UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington joining the Big Ten, obviously we've made the conference stronger. But again, with 20-some teams in the conference, it's almost like 2 separate conferences mashed into one. It's a little ridiculous, but, it is what it is. And no gain up the middle on that. First down and 10. And great defense there by the Hoosiers here early on that D-line. Well, everybody's in a conference. It's just the Pac-12 is still there, but it's got 2 teams, but they're already expanding, with Washington State and Oregon State. So second down and 10. Dante Moore, little check down. And gosh, Indiana's defense is so disciplined. Normally we're used to coming up with some easy plays as Davison grabs that, but again, not a whole lot of wiggle room, and this is going to be the hardest challenge for Dante Moore in his career. And again, the defense is really going to have to step up to get a pick 6, a fumble for a touchdown, some sacks, some tips. It's not going to be one of those games where Oregon's going to score, 50 points. If we're going to compete, it's going to be much lower scoring. And again, so far from what I'm seeing, Indiana is looking like the better team here early. Third down and 10. Throw to the sideline, incomplete. Great coverage there by the Hoosiers. And again, it just, it seems like, everything that Oregon is trying to do, Indiana is fully prepared. Obviously, great man coverage, great zone coverage. The D-line is putting pressure, on the offensive line for Oregon. And, they're playing a little nervous, a little discombobulated. And you got to give credit. That's why, if you got a team that's like Indiana, who's top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams, it shows. And obviously not to say that Penn State's not a good team. They are, but this definitely feels like much more of a challenge. And on top of that, we're at home. We're not even at Indiana. So good special teams tackle there by Oregon. 53-yard punt by Ferguson Reynolds. And Jonathan Brady returns for no gain. And hopefully we can force a 3 and out or get a turnover at some point. This is going to be a long day if not. But again, normally, as most people have watched Oregon, they pretty much can score almost at will against almost anybody. But again, if you get a team that is really good at defense, really good at special teams, got a really good like today, again, I would not be shocked if Indiana ends up upsetting Oregon, even though it's in Eugene. It definitely could happen. It's going to take probably one of our best efforts in the last 2 to 3 years to come up with this one. Go Ducks. .8:16 left in the first quarter, 3-0 Hoosiers. And hopefully Oregon's defense with Betcher and company can make a few plays here, but definitely on their heels a little bit, and the crowd will definitely have to be an X factor if we're going to try to keep this one close. $65 subs to go to 22,900. Let's go, baby. We gained a few since then. $59 subs to go to 22,900. Marcos in the building. What's good? Crazy Mariner game, huh, Marcos? And I feel bad for your Beavers, man. I don't think we've ever seen the Beavs start off like 0-5 ever since we've known each other, maybe even before then. So hopefully things will get better, for the team. But obviously the conference, getting obliterated and, having your coach leave and all the recruits, kind of transfer, definitely was not ideal. But I do hope that you're doing well, and I miss you. I hope things are going good with you. First down and 10. And Fernando Mendoza obviously is a top 5 Heisman candidate. Very, very good player. Got a very good rocket for an arm. And we'll see what we get here. Shotgun set for Mendoza. Little check down. And a nice gang tackle there by Oregon. I don't know if the Mariners can win tomorrow after going 15 innings and having to use a lot of their players. I mean, it's a very good chance that first game in Toronto that they fall flat and lose. It'll take almost a miracle to win that first game in Toronto. Second down and 4. Shotgun set for Fernando Mendoza. Hands off. And a little 3-yard run there by Hemby. About 7 minutes to go here in the first quarter. Indiana looking like the stronger team early on with their well-balanced offense, defense, and special teams all in the top 10. And we got a false start. There we go. We like that. Yeah, I did some honey and I did some tea, so I got the Niners and Bucks tomorrow, where if I have a voice, I might be able to do that. And then obviously we got the ALCS Game 1, Mariners and Blue Jays tomorrow. So, I got to be able to grind. 3rd down and 6. Shotgun set for Fernando Mendoza. 3 wide receiver set. Oh, it's 12 noon. You know what time it is. Time for a sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Amari Washington with the sack lunch. Loss of 9. And that's the defense that I was hoping for. There we go. 4th down and 15 at the Indiana 17, and they're going to be forced to punt. There we go. Yeah, and again, I mean, I did the 18-inning game in 2022 where we ended up having a 0-0 score for like 6-7 hours, and then they ended up losing 1-0. So I'm really thankful that the opposite happened, obviously, last night, and we were able to get that dub. And we got to delay a game here as Oregon was creeping in on potentially blocking that punt. We're in very good position here based on backing them, closer to their own end zone here. So again, a couple first downs, we'll be in field goal range. But again, we're looking to get our first touchdown, but we can't go away from the run. We got a stable of 5 running backs that we can go to, but we have to make sure that we have a balanced offense and not just go to the passing game. That'll definitely benefit the Hoosiers, even though we know that running on them and passing on them is going to be a challenge. 4th down and 20, Hoosiers with the punt. Gary Bryant Jr. is there with the fair catch at the 48, 49-yard line. So I like where we're at here. Go Ducks. Now we're going to a commercial break, and hopefully Dante Moore will be able to get the job done. Yeah, I'm a little surprised I got a voice right now, too, if I'm being honest and whatnot. But, went on a couple long walks with the pup. The rain is starting to come down in the Pacific Northwest. And, again, definitely was juiced up for this one. And, again, looking forward to some great NFL action tomorrow, as well as the ALCS with the Mariners and the Blue Jays. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of the hot tea with the honey. You're on it. And again, we can't call a game if it's a commercial. Yeah, me too. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 200 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. Thumbnail turned out pretty good this morning. Dodgers, Phillies, first postseason ever to end on a walk-off error. Yeah, they weren't going to win that anyways, though, even if the error didn't happen or not, though. So. And then obviously if the Brewers end up beating, the Cubs today, we'll see how competitive they will be against the Dodgers. I think most people are assuming the Dodgers are going to make it, but if there is a team that could beat the Dodgers, it is Milwaukee. But if Chicago wins, they have 0 chance against Los Angeles, in my opinion. But we will find out later today after this one is over. I'll be watching the Brewers and Cubs for sure. All right, let's go, Dante Moore. First down and 10. And a nice little jet sweep here, but it shows you how quick Indiana is. Normally our players are so much faster, than everyone else, but Indiana, they're matching that speed sideline to sideline. Let's go. And Dante Moore, pass complete to Malik Benson. Touchdown, Oregon. 44 yards. Let's go. And that's exactly what we needed. Let's go. And again, Oregon can strike in a matter of seconds. Let's get it. Things going a little slow. Dante Moore, one-on-one. See ya, getting behind the defense. I love it, Malik Benson. Let's go. Finally, the offense is starting to click. And you knew eventually, that you're going to get the big plays, on offense and defense. But again, you have to respect the opponent. Indiana is 5-0 and 7 in the nation for a reason, right? They're a good football team. I mean, their quarterback is a Heisman finalist, just like ours. We have a little bit more depth, player for player, but Indiana's not coming here to just compete. They're coming here to beat our ass and win. But at least we're able to respond after the field goal. Extra point is up and good. Let's go. 7-3 Ducks. What else is going on with you, Marcos, with work and your personal life and whatnot? Everything going okay? I have seen that you've been able to go to a few Beaver games here and there, and that's good that you're able to get out there and kind of enjoy yourself, with everything else that's going on. Great touchdown there by Dante Moore to Malik Benson after a couple drives stalling because of great defense by Indiana. But again, we were able to force a field goal early and not give up the touchdown, which is key. And then now finally being able to get, someone behind the defense. And again, just like Mendoza, Moore at any given moment, can sling it for 30, 40, 50, 60 yards for a tutty. And, after having that balanced offense and running the ball a few times, you knew eventually that big play was going to happen. Hybrid in the building. What's good? Great job by Will Stein, our offensive coordinator. Beautiful. Atticus Sappington kicks off. 65 yards for the touchback. 7-3 Oregon here early on. Yeah, no. I mean, again, if the Buckeyes are going to lose, to anybody, it would have to be someone like an Oregon, type of team. And even then, I hope we get the rematch. I would love to play the Buckeyes, in the Natty. That would be my, my dream matchup, to be able to get a little payback from last year. But if Ohio State ends up winning the Natty again, would anyone be surprised? I mean, they're kind of the new king, in college football. We've seen Alabama have their moments and Georgia have their moments, and Clemson and LSU, have their moment, whether it's a good team here or there, but it definitely is a difficult landscape in college football. And there's no doubt about that. Handoff up the middle. And a short game there by the Hoosiers. Masoli. Second down and 5. Yeah, I mean, just grinding, dude. And, this is the breakout year on the channel, so it's finally, feels good to be able to, go from where we were and where we're at now. Play action, bootleg, fake, throwing it to the sideline. Nice tackle there. But, to go from, 500 to 1,000 views to 10,000 to, 50,000, that's quite a bit of a jump, but we have been doing this for many, many years. So Flying Monk with a 5-er. Appreciate you. Stacks, Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. $5 holla on the Dono train. Appreciate you. First down and 10. Handoff. And Black with a nice run there. First down, Hoosiers. First down and 10. Mendoza towards the sideline, wide open. First down, Hoosiers. Omar Cooper Jr. with the catch. First down and 10 at the Oregon 23. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube, my boy. Wow. Cooper again. First down, Hoosiers. Oh, wow. Look at that. Old school Trent Green, 89-92. First down and 10. Shotgun set. Screen pass. And a good tackle there on Omar Cooper Jr. for no gain. Betcher is there. Second down and 10. Hemby run for 6 yards to the Oregon 17. Third down and 4. And they're getting closer and closer. Got to hold them to a field goal if we can, or a turnover. And Mendoza scrambling and a gambling, 14 yards. First down, Hoosiers. And they're down to the Oregon 3, and they will score here momentarily. Yeah, this one could come down to whoever has the ball last. I agree with that. That could definitely happen. And obviously, that late turnover, whether it be a fumble, a pick, a fumble for a touchdown, a pick six, something of that nature could end up being the deciding factor as well at some point in this kind of game. Touchdown, Hemby. And just like that, the Hoosiers take the lead, and they get their first touchdown here at Autzen Stadium. Not surprised one bit. This team is very, very good. And again, they have a Heisman finalist in Fernando Mendoza, who's been absolutely electric, much better than their quarterback from last year. When they played Ohio State, you knew that it was going to be not just a challenge, but almost impossible, even though they had a pretty good team last year. This team looks a little bit better, a little bit more depth. And obviously, when you have a better quarterback, just like, when we had Dylan Gabriel last year, Dante Moore is much better. And, when you have more of an electric quarterback like Mendoza and Moore, it definitely makes a big difference. Extra point is up and good. 10-7 Hoosiers. Nice touchdown there by Hemby. And Thieneman will have to come up with a big play, hopefully, again, like he did against Penn State with that game-clinching interception in overtime. Three-yard touchdown run by Roman Hemby. We got about 15 seconds left in the first quarter. 10-7 Hoosiers. got to answer back. And hopefully we can end up getting that big, long run, by one of our running backs to kind of, spark us. And then eventually, the passing game is going to open up at some point or another. All right, Frankie with a kickoff. 65 yards for a touchback. First down and 10 at the Oregon 25. Hoosiers got a good head coach as well. Definitely very, very fiery and passionate. And it's kind of cool to be able to see a team that normally is known as a basketball school, to be actually good in college football. It's refreshing. All right, Marine says we're at 43. Let's get to 50 before halftime. Let's go. Appreciate that. And again, anyone that is in the room can help out with that as well. Browns and Steelers, Chargers, Dolphins, Pats and Saints. Looking forward to that Niners-Bucks tomorrow. Somebody's got to drop it, and hopefully it'll be the Niners. Got to keep winning. On first down and 10, Noah Whittington run for 7 yards to the Oregon 32. Second down and 3 for the Ducks, and that will be the end of the first quarter. Ducks down by 3, but again, I'm not too surprised. This is the most well-balanced team in college football, the most well-balanced team that Oregon has faced, even more well-balanced than Penn State. And again, it's not going to be easy. We can't have any big turnovers, and we're definitely going to have to win that second half battle by making the proper adjustments under Dan Lanning. And if we're able to do that, we should be able to hopefully find a way to win this by, maybe a small margin, maybe 3. I would assume 7 at the most, but it could come down to, like a kick at the end. And hopefully we're still undefeated by the time this game is up. But if we are dropping this game, the season, isn't over. The sky isn't falling. Again, sometimes it might be better to actually lose a game or 2 as long as you get into the college football playoff, because then you can continue playing like the Buckeyes did, rather than going 12-0 in Big Ten play, getting a month off with a bye and being rusty, and then playing someone that's been playing weekly like the Buckeyes last year and then losing. So we'll see where it goes. But, offense started off a little shaky, but that's because Indiana's defense was so good early on. But eventually we're starting to kind of wear them down slowly but surely. And again, hopefully the defense will be able to step up and make those big plays. Otherwise, if we end up having a costly turnover or Indiana gets hot at some point in the second, third, or fourth, this game could get a little bit away from us. And hopefully that will not be the case. Need a few more subs. 58 subs to go to 22,900. Let's go. Marine Bean, you got a prediction for tonight between the Brewers and Cubs? I don't really see any scenario of the Cubs winning, but again, maybe, others think differently and whatnot. I mean, it's hard enough to win 3 games in a row against anyone that's left in the playoffs at this point, but, both teams won at home, and again, if Chicago does win, that would be 3 in a row, but you just assume that Milwaukee will have enough juice with its crowd where if it ends up being close, they may be able to pull it off, just like Mariners did against the Tigers. Now, I highly doubt it'll go 15 innings. It'll probably end in, regulation in 9, but looking forward to hopefully a good one, though. Hopefully it ends up being, a little bit of a pitcher's duel, and then it'll open up and, get a few home runs, a few RBIs here and there, and hopefully we'll have like a 4-3 final or 5-4 final. Something of that nature would be nice. Just waiting for the commercial break to end here. End of the first quarter, 10-7 Hoosiers. And again, if you need a quick breakdown, Indiana ended up rolling early, and they ended up getting a 42-yard field goal. 3-0 Hoosiers. Dante Moore to Benson with a 44-yard TD after struggling on a few early drives. 7-3 Oregon. And then Hemby just got a 3-yard tutty to give them the lead as we are transitioning now into the second quarter. 10-7 Hoosiers. Second down and 3, Dante Moore pass incomplete to Kenyon Sadiq. And I did see a post that Evan Stewart, who has been injured for quite some time, is on the brink of coming back in a few weeks, which will give us a little bit more depth at the wide receiver position, which is awesome. Third down and 3 at the Oregon 32. Yeah, it is a little shocking that the Cubs were able to get it to this point. Not to say that they were bad. They were a good team this year, but Milwaukee was like one of the best, right? So they were like on the Dodger level. So for them to drop 2 games after winning 2 was a little shocking. I would agree with that. But I got Milwaukee winning tonight. Milwaukee, and then obviously Los Angeles, Toronto, and Seattle. And a 2-yard run here by Dante Moore to the Oregon 34, 4th down and 1. And I'm really loving what I'm seeing out of this Indiana Hoosier defense. Again, I'm a defensive-oriented fan, and obviously I don't want to see my football team lose or get their ass kicked or get pushed around on the O-line and the D-line, but this is super impressive. Like, Penn State had moments where they made Oregon's defense look, kind of slow or bad, but Indiana today, I mean, they're really putting the pressure on, and they are very disciplined. Very fast, sideline to sideline, as we got a Hoosier player down. I hope he's okay. But I'm very impressed. And again, I already knew this Hoosier team was good because I did Indiana versus Ohio State last year on the channel. And I got to kind of break down, this up-and-coming team. And again, they are the real deal. Now we have to cut to a commercial break. Hopefully that Hoosier player, I couldn't see who it was. Hopefully he's okay. Fourth down and 1 at the Oregon 34. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube. Can't wait to see the new creations that he has in the mix. And again, anytime that you can end up supporting your friends that have dreams and goals, you should. Again, a lot of people nowadays have that mentality. Oh, I hope someone does good, but not better than me. But when you can actually encourage people to chase their dreams and goals and, see them achieve them, there's not a better feeling in the world. And now on 4th down and 1 at the Oregon 34, we'll see how bad this injury is after we get back from the break here. And we'll find out if Oregon ends up going for it or not. Obviously, regardless if they're on their 50 or the opposing team's 50, you have to be a little bit more cautious. Again, you might be able to get 4th and inches and 4th and 1 on almost anybody. But again, we haven't really played a defense like this, compared to Penn State and, a few others up to this point. So, and I'm definitely looking forward to that Husky matchup in Seattle at the end of the year. That is a game that Oregon could potentially lose. Damon Williams, amazing player, almost like a Kyler Murray clone. Jonah Coleman, one of the best running backs in the game right now, if not the best. Denzel Boston, David Boston's son, the former wide receiver in the NFL. So, again, they got a good O-line. They got a good defense. It's just nice to be able to see, the Pacific Northwest rep with quite a few teams that are, making a name for themselves. And Wyatt goes to the 10th there. I hope he's okay. Wow, looks like he ran into his own teammate there. And on 4th down and 1, Jordan Davison, 8 yards, first down, Ducks. Let's go. And again, there's going to be times where I'm not going to agree, with Will Stein and Dan Lanning, going for it like they did against the Huskies last year. If you have a field goal, take it. It doesn't matter if you think you're going to be able to get the first down or the touchdown, but at some point, you're going to have to, be a little bit more realistic instead of just being so overly aggressive on your play calls. You just can't be Chip Kelly 24/7, going for it on 4th down, no matter where you are on the field. But again, imposing their will there. Nice job with that 8-yard run. First down, Oregon. Let's go, baby. And on 1st down and 10, Davison, 26 yards to the Indiana 32. First down, Oregon. Let's go. They're starting to find a little creases here in the defense. And man, look at that. Breaking that tackle with that spin move. Wow. Move the chains. Great run by Jordan Davison. Back to back, baby. And look at the offensive line opening up this huge hole. Hitting him with the double team right up the middle on the guard. Ends up getting hit upper and doing a spin move in full speed, not slowing down one bit. And you got to wrap up. You got to be able to use your arms. You just can't hit him, with the shoulder and think that the Oregon Duck running back crew is going to go down, especially with the stable of 5 guys that we have. Nice job. First down and 10 at the Indiana 32. And if we can score here with a tutty and end up taking the lead, that would be great. First down and 10. Hand off to Davison again. 3rd carry in a row. 2 yards this time. Hoosier defense stepping up finally here. 2nd down and 8 at the Indiana 30. And Dante Moore, 9-yard run. First down, Ducks. Let's go. First down and 10 at the Indiana 21. We're starting to gain a little bit of rhythm. And obviously we just need to tire out the Hoosiers. And Hoosier players are screaming at each other on the sideline. I got a lot of emotion there. And we got an Oregon penalty here on first down. And that's going to be, 2nd down and 16 now on the Indiana 38. 10-yard penalty holding there by Oregon. Come on, Ducks. Got to be better. Second down and 16. Dante Moore pass complete to Jordan Davison for 5 yards to the Indiana 33. Now 3rd down and 11. And hopefully we'll be able to get this first down. Still a little long for, as far as like college, players kicking field goals. Some guys can, hit the 40s. Some guys can hit the 50s and 60s, but it's not like the NFL. We'll take checkdowns all day if that's what we need to do. Dante Moore pass complete to Jaden Lamar for only 3 yards. And now it's 4th down and 14 at the Indiana 36. So we'll see if they decide to go for the long field goal here or not, or if they decide to punt and play the field position game. Well, it looks like we got a penalty. Indiana, defensive holding. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Dante Moore, pass complete, short middle to Jaden Lamar. But we got holding downfield there by Amari, I believe. Let's go. Let's go. We'll take that. Automatic first down. Jamari Sharp, the individual responsible there. First down and 10. Lamar runs for 4 yards to the Indiana 19. Second down and 6. 10-7 Hoosiers with about 10 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Let's go, Ducks. Fourth penalty on Indiana for 25 yards. The very disciplined team starting to get a little undisciplined. Second down and 6, passing complete by Dante Moore. Third down and 6 at the Indiana 19. Come on, baby. Six for 8 for both quarterbacks, Mendoza and Moore. 63 yards for Mendoza, 65 for Dante Moore. The difference is he's got a touchdown, and so far, Mendoza does not. And Dante Moore sacked by Aiden Fisher. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? A Hoosier sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. And a big sack lunch there. Fourth down and 9 at the Indiana 22. 10-7 Hoosiers here early at Autzen. And obviously we're close enough now to be able to kick the field goal. And we should have a 10-10 game here with Atticus Sappington here momentarily, you would assume. There's nowhere to go for Dante Moore. And again, you want to make sure that you're not throwing, into double or triple coverage or, having that big turnover. Field goal is up and good. Atticus Sappington there, 40-yard field goal. And again, you don't want to go too, high into those numbers in the 40s, for Sappington's range. But we'll take a 10-10 tie here early. Go Ducks. Go Ducks. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 300 likes, 100 on the dono train, and a 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. (10-10), 9:18 left in the second quarter. Gained a few more subs since the last commercial break. 55 more to go to 22,900. Now, they're officially licensed chains through the University of Oregon, through my friend Brian, who makes them through Collegiate Art Design. So if you are a Duck fan and you are looking for some original art, again, everything is metal, it's all handmade. Very top tier. And again, you can get them in multiple colors. Obviously, with this, kind of more like a Ninja Turtle green. So anytime you end up having anything green or yellow and you have a green screen, it usually is going to be a little distorted. That's why obviously you can kind of see through it on the screen. But they'll have yellow, they'll have green, white, black, pink for breast cancer awareness, all the different colors that we typically do. And there's a brand new one that he just released within the last couple months that's clear. And it also will light up and change different colors and flash. I don't own one of those yet, but I did talk to him earlier today, and he will be dropping by, and we'll be able to meet up and do a personal delivery, and then hopefully I'll have access to that very shortly. Notre Dame and NC State going at it. .9:18 left in the second quarter as we get back from commercial break. 10-10 here early. And Sappington kicks off 65 yards for the touchback. First down and 10 at the Indiana 25 in a very competitive matchup between the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers, 5-0, 2-0 in Big Ten play, versus the number 3 Oregon Ducks, 5-0, 2-0 in Big Ten play as well. Fernando Mendoza pass complete to Elijah Surratt. 9 yards to the Indiana 34, second down and 1 for the Hoosiers. Kalen Black run for no gain. Third down and 1 at the Hoosier 34. Let's go, Ducks. .850 to go here in the second quarter. 10-10 here early between the Hoosiers and the Ducks. And Fernando Mendoza pass incomplete to Elijah Surratt. And that is fourth down and 1. Defense finally stepping up here for the Oregon Ducks here at home at Autzen. And we'll see if they end up punting, which you assume they will. They're on their 50. 4th and 1 on the Indiana 34. Hard to think that they would, try to do something like Oregon does and just blatantly go for it. You go for it here, Oregon will score in like one play. So you assume that Indiana will be smart, like their head coach, and they'll punt the football, but we'll find out. No flag comes out on that play on 3rd down and 1, and definitely looked like PI on Oregon. He was all over the wide receiver there. I'm very shocked that there was no call there. Yeah, there's no way in hell that wasn't a penalty. And Indiana's head coach is just absolutely losing his mind on the sideline. I appreciate you. Yeah, we got a lot of people, since most people know me from, doing, the Oregon Ducks, but primarily, doing the Seattle Mariners, and to be able to, do 155 plus games, missing only maybe one a month out of the 162. We're doing all the playoff games. And the only reason we were missing one game a month was because of WWE's PLE or pay-per-view. But now, they're charging $30 a month, and I'm not going to pay that. So, going into next year, we'll probably do every single game, all 162, as long as I'm not sick or have any, things that come up and whatnot, but it's definitely been a magical year. And again, we're in the ALCS. I'll be doing that tomorrow. Mariners versus the Blue Jays, and definitely looking forward to the chance of being able to get to the World Series for the very first time for the Mariner fan base. Appreciate you. And obviously timeout is called, and Indiana still losing their mind there with the no call. And false start there by Khalil. 4th down and 6 as they try to gain a little bit more room to punt the football. Captain in the building, what's good? Yeah, it sounds like based on Dipoto and everyone, they said that he won't start game 1, but he might be ready for like game 3, game 4, somewhere in the middle of the series. So at least that he'll be on the roster, but he won't be pitching right away. Fourth down and 6 at the Indiana 29. How you doing, Captain? And now 4th down and 6 at the Indiana 29. They're forced to punt here, and hopefully Oregon will be able to respond with a touchdown or at least a field goal. We understand how good this team is. And down to the 30, Gary Bryant Jr. And breaks one tackle, but not the next. And a nice gang tackle there by the Hoosiers. First down and 10 at the Oregon 31. 8 minutes to go here in the second quarter, and a really good one. Flag on the play. During the kick, holding. It'll be a 10-yard penalty. So it'll be first down and 10 at the 21 rather than the 31 after that holding penalty. Yeah, I'm just happy that I have a voice, I was really kind of scared, I was like, man, I hope I have a voice to do, this game. And then obviously I'll be watching the Brewers and Cubs later today. And I was hoping to have a voice possibly for the Niners and the Bucks tomorrow. That'll be on at like 1-ish. And then if I'm able to do that, then obviously we got the big one, ALCS game 1 in Toronto, Mariners and Blue Jays. And I don't know if we're going to be able to win that first game, with everything that happened, all the players that we had to play, it's going to take a miracle to win game 1 in Toronto, but hopefully we can be competitive. And if we can steal one, in Toronto, that will definitely give us a great chance, early on. But if we do drop game 1, that's not going to mean that we're going to automatically get like swept, but it's definitely going to be a challenge and a battle, and, we'll see where it goes. I wouldn't say that they're getting carried. They had one play. Give it a break. Every team is going to get calls here or there, whether it goes for your team or you're against your team. And there probably will be a makeup call that'll be questionable later in the second half. It's not like Oregon is up 20-0 right now. It's 10-10. Oregon could easily lose the game. This is a very well-balanced Indiana Hoosier team. Top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. Okay? It's not like you haven't seen a play not get called by a ref before. It happens all the time. People that aren't even really fans that are mad because their parlay isn't hitting. That's not my problem. Indiana fans crying already, huh? And the funny thing is they're probably going to have a very good chance of winning the game. It's 10-10. Go get some fucking tissues. Golly. Acting like Oregon is up 30-0 and got every single call up to this point. Cry me a river. First down and 10. Dante Moore pass complete to Decorian Moore. We've been waiting for him to be able to get the ball. Our DeAnthony Thomas type of player, a Jeremiah Smith type from The Ohio State University. First down and 10 at the Oregon 35. And we're talking about one play. I mean, if people are going to get their panties in a bunch after one fucking play that wasn't called, like we've all watched a football game where there's been, calls that haven't been made or, a PI call that didn't exist that got called. Give me a break. One fucking play. It's not like there's been 10 plays. Dante Moore passing complete to Malik Benson. Third down and 10 at the Oregon 35. I mean, if you can't handle one penalty that wasn't called, college football isn't for you. You're going to have a mental breakdown after one PI that didn't get called. I mean, we still have plenty of time for a makeup call to happen. And the funny thing is all the people that are complaining, Indiana might win this game. You're acting like that one call is going to cost Indiana a chance to win the game. The team is good enough to win, regardless if that call goes in their favor or not. And Dante Moore sacked by Isaiah Jones, 12-yard loss. Fourth down and 22 at the Oregon 23. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a Hoosier sack lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Hoosier fans and people that are betting are acting like Oregon is up 40-0, and it's been all the calls are going in our favor. Golly. But great defense there by Indiana, and that's going to turn into a James Ferguson Reynolds punt for 47 yards. Jonathan Brady at the Indiana 30 with the fair catch. I mean, it could come down to whoever has the ball last, and again, this is going to be probably the biggest challenge that we've had. Obviously, we know Penn State on the road and the whiteout was tough. Thieneman had to get that pick in overtime for us to be able to win that game, and that wasn't easy. And, this team is better than last year's with depth and whatnot, and we got a better quarterback, than Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore. But with all that being said, we know how competitive college football is, so. .6:32 left in the second quarter. And Fernando Mendoza pass complete to Elijah Surratt. 16 yards to the Indiana 46. First down, Hoosiers. Move the chains. Very well-balanced game here early on. Got to get that tackle. Nice catch there by Surratt. Mendoza pass complete to Omar Cooper Jr., 11 yards. First down, Hoosiers. Yeah, but I think if you watched Indiana play Ohio State last year, you already knew they were a pretty good team. And now they have a better quarterback this year compared to last year, just like Oregon. And again, a little bit more depth as well. And again, they're the only team in the top, 10, let alone in the country, that's got a top 10 offense, defense, and special teams. And again, they're giving everything they got at Oregon. Fernando Mendoza passing complete to Charlie Becker. Second down and 10 at the Oregon 43. But I think any real Oregon fan, like a real one, we know that we could lose this game. But again, the season's not over if you lose a game or two. It might actually be better So that way you don't go 12-0 and have a month off, during the college football playoff. You want to make sure you're playing week in and week out. So if we lose today or lose to the Huskies in Seattle at the end of the regular season, that's not going to hurt Oregon. If anything, it might benefit them. Shotgun set, first down and 10. Almost caught there. Great coverage there by the Ducks. Second down and 10 at the Oregon 43. Yeah, and again, you have to give the credit to the Hoosiers. They're playing great football. So anything that you see Oregon not normally doing, it's not because Oregon, has all these holes. Indiana's a good football team. And when you have a good football team on the other side, you don't score those 50, 60-yard rushing touchdowns and 60-yard passing touchdowns as easily as against a shitty opponent. So plain and simple. And Mendoza incomplete to Roman Hemby, 4th down and 8 at the Oregon 41. So, again, Oregon is a very good team, just like Ohio State and many others, but when you end up playing a really good, solid opponent, it's not just, Oregon has to work on all these things. You got to give credit to the other team that they got a good good D, good special teams. They're well coached and they're playing to win. Looked like a hold there on 3rd down and 9 that wasn't called. And we'll see what happens here with Indiana. But again, both defenses starting to kind of step up. And McCarthy with the punt for 30 yards. And now it's 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 11. And let's see if we can end up getting 3 at the very least. But preferably a touchdown, 17-10 going into halftime. But, anytime you get quality opponents playing each other. I don't know what, some maybe Oregon fans expected. Did you expect, to win this game by 30 or 40? And if you did, then obviously you're not very in tune with college football and you're not familiar with Indiana. So, and definitely up to this point, it feels like a battle and a war, just like it was with Penn State. It was. Yeah, I always when the score is on the screen, your guess is as good as mine. Dante Moore, pass complete to Jaden Lamar, 5 yards to the Oregon 15, 16-yard line, 2nd and 5. And Evan Stewart will be back with the team in a few weeks, which will be nice to give us another weapon and a little bit more depth. But I like everything that I've been seeing out of the Indiana Hoosiers here today. They look very well balanced, great coach, great energy, a lot of passion. They're very fast, sideline to sideline. They're very, very skilled. They got a top 5 Heisman finalist in Fernando Mendoza, just like we have with Dante Moore. No one said that this game was going to be easy. It's going to be a war to the very end. And again, shout out to the Hoosiers. They look awesome. And it's also cool to be able to see a school that's primarily a basketball school, finally turn the page and turn the corner and being great at football. It's great for the Big Ten. Lamar run for 6 yards to the Oregon 31, 2nd down and 4 with less than 3 minutes to go before halftime here. And let's see if we can get a couple splash plays to get us into field goal range or possibly to take the lead with a tutty. Yeah, I don't know about better quarterback. Pretty biased statement there. But we'll see who ends up winning the Heisman at the end. Dante Moore pass complete to Jamari Johnson, 3-yard gain to the Oregon 41. And obviously we know Carson Beck is having a pretty good year, Jeremiah Smith. And then obviously these two quarterbacks with Moore and Mendoza. Yeah, and there's no loyalty, with the transfer portal and everything else that's going on. Again, coaches, players can say, I'm going to be here for a long time, and they could end up dipping, very, very shortly after. So really the only one that is going to be honest and truthful and stay to their word is Dan Lanning, and at some point, if we win a natty and Kirby Smart gets fired, who's their first choice? It's going to be Dan Lanning, to come back home, as he was the defensive coordinator for that team that won natties under Kirby Smart. But hopefully we can get a natty or two if he were to leave, before he leaves. All right, we're at the 2-minute warning, and we're knotted up at 10. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 300 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. 55 subs to go to 22,900, 155 to 23,000. Gained another 8 since the last commercial break. 47 subs to go to 22,900. Let's go. Second down and 7 at the Oregon 41. And hopefully we'll be able to find a way to punch this in. But again, Indiana's defense has been very impressive up to this point. 93. Let's get to 100, Marine Bean. Let them know. And I'm definitely looking forward to the Brewers and Cubs after this one is over. And again, we'll find out if I have enough of a voice to do the Niners and Bucks tomorrow afternoon. But we definitely are going to be doing Mariners and the Blue Jays ALCS Game 1 tomorrow. Yeah, but we're playing, number 7 in the country. It's not like Indiana's unranked. Time of possession, 15 minutes there, and 37 seconds and some change. Dante Moore pass complete to Gary Bryant Jr., 18 yards to the Indiana 41. First down, Oregon. Let's go. First down and 10 now at the Indiana 23. Let's go, baby. Keep marching. Moore to DeCorian Moore. Bryant on one play, DeCorian Moore on the other, 18 yards. First down, Oregon. Let's go. Got to get Dak the ball and more opportunities. First down and 10 at the Indiana 23. Louis in the building. What's good? Yeah, that one felt good. And we got a false start on the Oregon O-line. First down and 15 at the Indiana 28. I've been a fan of the Mariners for 40 years. So, to be able to see them do something that we haven't done, since 2001, pretty special. But the job's not done. Obviously, trying to make it to the World Series, more than likely against the Dodgers, would be the goal. First down and 15 at the Indiana 28. So many Indiana fans and people that are betting on this game crying. The score is 10-10. Unbelievable. People are acting like the score is 30-0 right now or something. And we've gotten all the calls and they've gotten none. You can definitely tell who's watching the game and who isn't. Dante Moore, pass incomplete. Third down and 8 now at the Indiana 21. And we got to get a first down here. Otherwise, we're going to end up kicking a field goal, which I don't mind. I'll field goals all day. You're going to have to be able to take what the defense gives you, and Indiana's defense is nice. They fly around like Oregon. A very well-balanced matchup here this afternoon. And they always have a spy on Dante Moore. So for a lot of those plays where Dante normally can just take off and run, there is a linebacker always spying. So anytime he, almost gets to that point where maybe I should take off, can't. There's someone that's right there on him that's got really good speed. And, there's no way that he's going to be able to get those 7 to 11 yards that he needs on that scramble. And Jordan Davison with a 3-yard run to the Indiana 18. Now it's 4th down and 5. And again, could we get a first down here? Of course. But again, I hope that they're smart and they just take the field goal here with Atticus Sappington. But again, with Oregon, you never really know with Lanning and Stein, if they're going to be overly aggressive or not. And field goal is up and no good. Wow. Atticus Sappington with the miss, and that is not something that typically happens. But again, I think it was the right call. All right, 24 seconds left. And hopefully Indiana, we can hold them from getting anything significant here. But again, this is normally a chip shot, 36-yarder. And how do you go wide left right there, Sappington? I mean, especially at that point, where if it's 4th and 5, if we go for it, do we get it? More likely not. But again, after, a chip shot gets missed, now moving forward, we may have to go for it on a situation like this, like on 4th down and 5 or less. If we can't trust Sappington, we're going to have to go for it. And, again, missing a field goal that close may change the outcome of the strategy in the second half. We might not kick any field goals the rest of the game. And Hemby run for a 14-yard gain to the Indiana 34. First down, Hoosiers. Move the chains. I'm very impressed with Indiana. They looked very good here in 2025, much better than last year's team. Mendoza pass complete to Surratt, 11 yards to the Indiana 45, and timeout is called. Big hit on that sideline there. 13 seconds to go, and they're definitely trying to get into field goal range to take the lead before half if possible. All right, we got 13 seconds left. 10-10, Indiana and Oregon knotted up here in a battle. And hopefully we can end up preventing them from getting into field goal range here. Let's go, baby. Play some D. Mendoza pass incomplete. Second down and 10 at the Indiana 45 now, as we have 6 seconds to go here before halftime. And pass incomplete to Hemby. And we got a penalty here. And that looks like PI on Oregon. Extra 15 yards on that penalty there with the PI. Okay, Oregon, don't fumble the bag here. Can't give up this big monster play with 6 seconds left. Stacy in the building. What's good? Great matchup. You know, we already knew that this was going to be a war and a battle, just like it was with Oregon going to Penn State with the whiteout last week. And, you know, again, the Big Ten, you know, we know how great that conference is. You know, the SEC used to be king, and they still have a few good teams over there, you know. But again, if you look at top to bottom, you know, I think that once you start getting into the middle to the bottom, you know, I think the Big Ten is a little bit better than the SEC. Obviously, you know, very top heavy with some of the really good teams. But again, Indiana definitely coming on the scene last year, and we'll see what happens here. And 58-yard attempt, and Oregon calls timeout. Steve from Cambodia in the building. What's good? And kick is up and good. (13-10) Indiana. And again, I'm not surprised, and I don't think a whole lot of Oregon fans are either, unless you haven't been keeping up on how good Indiana has been, you know, in the last 2 years. So, wish Sappington could have done his chip shot, so we would be at 13-13. But, you know, give the Hoosiers credit. You know, they are going to war and in a harsh environment. You know, they're 5-0 for a reason. And again, they're the only team in college football that is in the top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams. And anyone that would have known that going into this game should have already known that this is a game that Oregon could lose, you know, based on that stat alone. You know, there's no other team in college football that's in the top 10 in all three categories. So shout out to Indiana and their great head coach on building this program the last few years. And, you know, they started to break out last year, couldn't beat Ohio State. I ended up calling that game and watching them very closely. And this year's team is even better, as you can see, with a 13-10 lead here on Oregon in obviously Autzen, which is not a good, you know, environment for, you know, road teams to come into. And they're handling it with grace, and they're playing very, very well. And Frankie with the kickoff there, 59 yards. 13-10 Indiana with 1 second left. We're just about to get into halftime here. And there is halftime. great job by Indiana. A little disappointed, that Oregon couldn't get a little bit more. But again, it's not like we're down, 14, 17, or 20. I had a feeling that if both defenses played how I thought they would play, that it could end up being a lower scoring game. It was never going to get into like the 50s. It more than likely will be in the 30s or less. And we're sitting at a 13-10 halftime score, and we're down 3, but I like our chances, especially with Dan Lanning. He's great at making second half adjustments. Now, could Oregon lose this game? Of course. Indiana's a very good team, but I'm hoping that they can make enough changes and adjustments in the second half where we can get the running game going a little bit more. Obviously, when you're looking at this matchup right now, you want a little bit more. Hemby's got 29 yards rushing. Davison's got 55, but, it definitely is a war and a battle, and we'll see where it goes in the second half. Yeah, I mean, they're 5-0. They're number 7 in the country. They're 2-0 in the Big Ten. They're normally known as a basketball school. They were great last year. That was their breakout party. They didn't beat Ohio State. But again, anytime, Indiana's name was mentioned, it was kind of like a cool thing to be able to see, a school that normally doesn't get a whole lot of love or pub, from the media, and to be able to kind of break out. And again, if you have a great coach, and you recruit well, and you make the players believe, in your vision, and they buy in, then you get what you get, obviously, in this year in 2025 with the Indiana Hoosiers. So, again, a very even matchup that could go either way, and hopefully we'll be able to be a little bit more clean, defensively. Obviously, Indiana had more penalties than Oregon there in that first half, and they probably want to clean that up as well. But again, as even as a matchup as you possibly can see, and we know how hard the matchup was against Penn State last week in the whiteout on the road. And again, as great as Oregon is, if you play an opponent that's on the Oregon level, you're not going to win by 20, 30, 40 points every week. You have to give respect to the opponents. And I really love this Indiana team. And I think it's great to be able to see another team, in the Big Ten show out. The longest time, it was Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. And then every once in a while, you would get Iowa, Wisconsin, and some of those kind of teams that were in the middle, that would be, respectable. But then now adding Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA, obviously you're getting a little bit more depth, for the Big Ten. And it's just nice to be able to see some of these other teams step up, and it makes for better quality college football matchups like that we have here today. So appreciate you, Marissa. Yeah, I wouldn't say Sappington is terrible, just unfortunate missed kick. He usually is pretty reliable, for us, but to miss a chip shot, not ideal. But again, if we don't trust him in the second half, then they're not going to go for field goals with him the rest of the game. They'll just go for, 4th and 5, they'll go for it, and that may end up costing us the game, but we'll find out. I mean, will Sappington get another chance to kick a field goal? I assume he'll get at least one more chance, but again, if we do have another situation like 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3, 4th and 4, 4th and 5, we might just say fuck it and just go for it. So, but I wouldn't say Sapping is terrible. It was an easy kick, but let's be real. When you watch college football and when you watch the NFL, nothing is a for sure thing anymore. You could end up going to the NFL and having a 15-yard field goal and miss. Extra points get missed, field goals get missed, and obviously we know college kickers are nowhere near the talent level of the NFL ones, and even the NFL ones fuck up pretty regularly. So, just a little unfortunate by Sappington, but hopefully we'll be able to make up for that, and we'll see where it goes. Well, you obviously haven't been watching Indiana football in the last 2 years. Wake up and watch football from other teams other than your own. I'm going to go check up on my pup here real quick. 13-10 Indiana. And again, we'll be back in the action here in just a couple minutes.
up as well. And of course, we are here one of the loudest stadiums in the country. The noise got to you as well with the pre-snap penalty. Yeah, the penalties they're going to have to cut. You heard Coach Signetti tell Gary and Brad. So for that, you mentioned it. I'm waiting to get here. Going to get in any prominent stadium, so they have to figure that piece out and stop with the self-inflicted wounds. One of the biggest things like this, you have to settle down. Don't panic. We heard Coach Signetti say we're on the road.
All right, Pup is doing good. 13-10, Indiana up on Oregon here at half. But again, you know, we have one of the best coaches that makes adjustments in the second half, and Dan Lanning. So again, not really the ideal position that you want to be in. And obviously Sappington missing that, you know, gimme, you know, extra point range type of kick, which very unfortunate. You know, could have been 13-13 tied up, but you know, another thing that we have to be able to fight some adversity. And, you know, Indiana obviously has a good football team. You got to realize also, too, if you're not familiar with Indiana, you know, they have a top 5 Heisman candidate in their quarterback like Dante Moore. Fernando Mendoza is in the top 5. So you got 2 Heisman finalists going at it. You know, their team's got a good offense and defense, including special teams. And again, be a war and a battle. And we know Jeremiah Smith at the Ohio State University is fantastic. Carson Beck, obviously transferring from Georgia to going Miami, is having a pretty good year as well. So those are typically the main 4 guys that are being talked about the most as far as the Heisman is concerned. And again, I knew that this was going to be pretty tough. And to be down only 3, you know, it's not ideal. You know, you definitely want to be up by, 3 or 6 or 7 or more, going into half. But again, it's not anything that we haven't been able to come back from before. And hopefully we'll be able to start off on a fast foot and a fast note as we go into the third quarter.
Back on every purchase with Discover, the official card of the Big Ten. Total Wireless, we got your back.
And I'm trying to think if there was a 5th guy that I would put, in the Heisman finals, or finalist, so to speak. Who would I put? Maybe Ty Simpson from Alabama as the 5th guy. Obviously there's going to be other guys that are going to go up and down, in the rankings, but the 4 that are going to be, stuck in the top 4 pretty much the whole year are going to be both of these quarterbacks, Mendoza and Moore. And then Jeremiah Smith always, we know he's one of the most electric players at wide receiver for Ohio State. And, whether you like him or not, Carson Beck, even though he had some struggles with Georgia, before he left, he's definitely playing very well for Miami and doing a great job there. So and we got a couple more minutes to go here before halftime ends, and hopefully we'll be able to get going. Gained another 15 subs. 32 subs to go to 22,900. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. I've been watching football and sports in general since the mid-'80s. So, again, when I started watching Oregon before it was the cool team to root for, they were only winning a game or 2, throughout a full season and whatnot. So to be able to see what Oregon has been able to put together in the last 25 years is pretty exciting. Obviously we don't have a natty yet, but, it kind of feels like as long as Dan Lanning is going to be here in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to get to a natty or 2. We may not win the first time that we go, but it definitely feels like we will end up winning a natty at some point with Lanning. And again, that's something that we're definitely looking forward to doing, hopefully this year. But again, there's going to be some bumps in the road, like this Indiana team who is very, very skilled, that we have to obviously find a way to get past in the second half. And it may come down to whoever has the ball last. It may come down to whoever has that big turnover in the fourth quarter, who can come up with a big fumble or interception. And again, we saw what happened in that Penn State game, in OT. And we might need a similar type of play to be able to squeak this one out. And, it doesn't look like the winner of this game is going to win by, at the most, maybe 10, but it could end up being a 3-point win for, either team. So we'll see where it goes. And I wouldn't really say that Indiana or Oregon didn't play well. It's just that they didn't score as many points as that we're used to, because both teams have elite defenses. So again, I don't know what people were expecting. If they were expecting this to be, 23-20 at half, you're not going to be able to do that against these defenses, not this year. So. Yeah, but anybody can beat anyone on any given Saturday, just like in the NFL. Anybody can beat anyone on any given Sunday, Monday, or Thursday. It really just depends on, if someone is coming in overconfident and cocky, where the other team may not be as good or as talented, but they give it their all. And if you strike early, sometimes the, favored team doesn't have enough time to come back. And, again, both defenses are very good. And again, it's definitely going to be a little bit lower scoring of a matchup unless, someone is able to make that, game-breaking play, 50, 60-yard broken tackle for a touchdown, run or throw. And, we'll see what we end up getting here in the second half momentarily. If I'm being honest and real, obviously I cover the Ducks and I cover the Mariners, and then we do NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, NASCAR, WWE. We do a little bit of everything. But, when you end up focusing so much, on a particular team like the Ducks or the Mariners, you kind of know them inside and out. And Cody, after going 15 innings and, going through all of those pitchers and, guys being tired, it's going to be really hard to win that first game. And again, I hope that we can compete. But again, it's going to take a miracle. Obviously, either team that would have advanced, Mariners or Tigers, would have been at a huge disadvantage, as Toronto has been able to chill for, a few days, rest their guys. And the first game is in Toronto, not in Seattle. So, again, it's not going to be easy whatsoever. It's a possibility we get blown out in game one. Hopefully it ends up being close. And I'm hoping that we can find a way to win. But again, pitching has to be fantastic. Bullpen has to be top tier. And if we're going to beat the Blue Jays in game one, any fucking game, we're going to have to hit like 2 to 4 home runs each game. And we haven't been able to, do that in a while. So again, you're not going to always win games 2-1 or 3-2. And luckily we were able to win that game in 15 innings in the longest postseason game, in MLB history as far as a game clinching, type of game. But I still like our chances in the series. But as far as game one, that is going to be very hard. But if we are able to steal game one, that could be very, very big. Tomorrow is going to be Bryce Miller since he didn't pitch yesterday. He was the only starting pitcher that didn't pitch. So we're going to go Bryce Miller versus Kevin Gossman. So, Blue Jays probably have a little bit of an advantage there with the better pitcher, and they're well rested. And again, not ideal, to go with Bryce Miller, but since we ended up using Castillo and Kirby and Gilbert, and Wu is not ready yet. Wu will be on the ALCS roster, but if he were to pitch, it probably won't be until, I would assume, game 2, game 3, game 4, and whatnot. So we'll see where it goes. And Frankie with the kickoff, 59 yards, first down and 10 at the Oregon 25. Let's go. Kenny Wheaton. I was going to say Wheatley. Who's Wheatley? Kenny Wheaton. Awesome. Yeah, I got some vintage Oregon Duck cards from back in the day that are extremely rare, like Smokey the Bear player cards that are still they have kind of those perforated edges that you can kind of pull them apart and whatnot. But I have a booklet that's all together of old school cards from 94, 95. Super, super rare. And it's got Bellotti on there, Kenny Wheaton, and a few of the other players from that era. Definitely a special era back then in the 94, 95, especially when we were able to get that big pick, against the Huskies, Kenny Wheaton, the pick, even though we ended up, playing Penn State and losing in that Rose Bowl. It was a cool experience to kind of get our feet wet. And so people actually started to recognize, what Oregon was about. And, if you've seen where we've been able to go, from that 94 team and obviously, in the Joey Harrington era, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and where we're at now, 25 years later, we're definitely in good hands with Dan Lanning. No, Wu will not be available tomorrow. Wu will be on the roster, but he won't be ready, for a few more games, realistically. So. Yeah, Oregon gets the ball. We're getting started here just momentarily. 13-10, Indiana. All right, Sappington kicks off, 65 yards for a touchback. Indiana starts off with the ball here first at the 25-yard line. Gained another 10 subs, 26 subs to go to 22,900. All right, let's see what we get here. We're going to need Betcher and company to come up with some big plays. And obviously, we know Fernando Mendoza is a stud. Dante Moore is a stud. Something's got to give. Penalties will be very key, as well as, who has the ball last. And obviously the turnover, game is going to be very, very crucial to be able to watch as well. You know, can't have that big pick or fumble late in the third or fourth. All right, here we go. First down and 10, handoff. And a nice stuff there by the Ducks. Mendoza pass incomplete to Elijah Surratt. Third down and 13 at the IU 22. Angela in the building, go Ducks. Emby run for 2 yards to the IU 24, fourth down and 11. And that's a fantastic start for the Oregon Duck defense. Let's go. That's exactly what we needed. We didn't want them to march down and get a field goal or a touchdown. I mean, we're already down 3. We already had the Atticus Sappington fuck up, you know, with the missed field goal that went wide left. And it was in extra point range, unexcusable. So we got to make sure that we're, you know, on point here. And we know that Lanning got that team fired up. And McCarthy punts for 42 yards. Fair caught by Gary Bryant Jr. at the Oregon 34. And hopefully we can march down the field, at the very least, get a field goal. But we're thinking 6, so that way we can take the lead here, 17-13. But easier said than done because Indiana's defense is very, very polished. I got the Brew Crew winning at home. I think the Cubs are amazing. They've had a great year. You know, Pete Crow Armstrong, Seiya Suzuki, you know, Kyle Tucker, so fun to watch. But again, you know, Milwaukee won both games at home. Chicago won both games at home. But it's hard to win 3 times in a row. And you're going back to Milwaukee. So I have to assume, you know, if you're betting or watching, I would assume Milwaukee will find a way, since they were one of the best teams all year, the best team on the road, and they're very good at home. And I assume that we're going to get Brewers, Dodgers in the National League. And then obviously we already know we have Blue Jays, Mariners in the ALCS. Now, if the Cubs win, will I be shocked? No, you know, but it would be slightly surprising, you know, just based on how that series has gone. I mean, Mariners and Tigers were the most well-balanced, you know, and again, you know, with the Brewers and the Cubs, you know, Brewers won 2 games at home, Cubs won 2 games at home, and now it goes back to Milwaukee. So, I mean, you would assume at this point Milwaukee will get it done in front of their fans, but, you know, you never know. Anything is possible in sports. That's why we love it, right? The Cougs did. Yeah, Cougs and the Beavers obviously have, you know, obviously Beavers are much worse. You know, Cougs are doing much better than them, but, you know, it's kind of not ideal, you know, to have everyone leave in the Pac-12. And eventually they're going to be building up more teams, you know, there, but it'll never be the same. All right, commercial break as we go into 13:38. Left in the third. Oregon on its first possession on offense here after a 3-and-out. Great job by Lanning and the defense to, you know, get that team riled up when we needed it the most. And hopefully we'll be able to drive 65 yards into the end zone and take the lead here. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 200 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 50 to 800 subs. And we gained quite a few since we last checked. And where are we at now? Now we only need 22 to go to get to 22,900, 122 subs to get to 23,000. Nothing is scripted, my guy. That's tough, Justin. You know, it's hard to be able to win when you bet on sports. That's for damn sure. You know, they know exactly what they're doing when they have that set up, you know, based on it, 3.5, and then it ends up being 3, you know, like there's a reason why they do that 0.5. Dante Moore pass complete to Kenyon Sadiq, one of the best tight ends in the game. 13 yards. First down, Oregon. First down and 10 at the Oregon 48. Move the chains. Let's go, baby. And a nice little bootleg play action there to get it to Sadiq. Let's go. Dante Moore pass complete to DeCorian Moore. 4 yards to the Indiana 48. Second down and 6 for the Oregon Ducks. Let's go. Got to be careful when you end up getting a little too cute there with the jet sweep. Second down and 6. And Dante Moore sacked by Hardy. It's 12 noon. You know what time it is? Time for a Hoosier sock lunch. Yum, 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 yum. Third down and 6. And that turns into third down and 11. 5-yard penalty with offensive holding. Come on, Oregon. Oh, come on, Oregon. You got to be clean. Hold on offensive lineman number 71, Alex Harkey. Come on, Harkey. Got to be better. Third down and 11 at the Oregon 47. Down by 3. Could be tied if Sappington would have made a gimme at the end of the first half, but missed wide left. But still, again, it's not going to be a high-scoring game. Both defenses are very, very good. And again, it's going to be a battle and a war, and hopefully Oregon will minimize the self-inflicted wounds, and we can find a way to kind of find a crease into this defense at some point in the late third quarter or the fourth quarter. Pretty dead even. Ball control, 11 first downs apiece. Oregon with a little bit more yardage, but almost right down the middle. Indiana's coach is so fucking animated. Seems like he's just going to lose his lid at any given moment. Very passionate, but I can respect that. Especially for a school that normally is known for college basketball, to be good on the football side. Very cool to see. And Dante Moore pass complete to Gary Bryant Jr. for 3 yards down to the 50, but now it's fourth down and 8. And does Oregon punt? Do we actually go for it on fourth down and 8? I mean, at some point, it's one thing to have the Chip Kelly mentality when you're going to go for it at any given point, no matter where you're at. But eventually, if you have that mindset, it's going to come back to bite you. Toby in the building. What's good, brother? And James Ferguson Reynolds punts. And that gets down to the 2-yard line for Indiana. Here we go. We might be able to get a turnover or a big play here. Backing them up as close as we possibly can. We'll be looking for a fumble, a pick, a safety. We'll see what happens here. 13-10 Hoosiers. But prior to last year, if you were going to say Indiana Hoosiers, what do most people think first? They think football or basketball? They think basketball, even if they haven't really been that great of a team lately, based on the history, Bobby Knight and everything else. Again, they may have not been elite, like they were, but when you say Indiana Hoosiers to a random sports fan, most people are going to think basketball first.
College football, so everything. So it's with a sibling cage match or Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why Hill only has one carry. You know, at this point, obviously, you know, one of the more explosive running backs that we have. You know, you have Whittington, you have Davison, you have Lamar, you have Harris, you have Hill. And again, you know, when you see Hill run, you know, he gives you, you know, kind of LeGarrette Blount, you know, type of vibes and whatnot. You know, very upper body strength, lower body strength, can run over a guy, but also has the speed. And, you know, it is a little odd. I'm not sure if he's hurt or whatnot, you know, or has some kind of lingering injury or whatnot. But, you know, you would think that Hill would be the guy that you would want to get the football to the most, you know, out of everyone. You know, like I said, you know, Davison and Whittington, you know, at some point they can be starters, or Lamar or Harris, but they're kind of like change of pace backs, you know. But if I was, you know, kind of calling the plays, as long as Hill, if he's healthy, that would be the guy that I would want to have the football more than anyone else, you know, based on what he's been able to show us up to this point in 2025. So. Mendoza passing complete to Elijah Surratt. 2nd down and 10 at the Indiana 2. Let's keep the pressure on with the defense here. Hemby run for 2 yards to the Indiana 4. 3rd down and 8. With about 11 minutes left here in the third, plenty of time for Oregon to be able to come back and win this game. Dog catcher in the building, what's good? But a good defensive battle here today in the Big Ten. Number 7, Indiana versus number 3, Oregon at Autzen. And Mendoza pass incomplete. 4th down and 8 at the Indiana 4, and Oregon should have good field position around the 50 after this punt, and they should be able to, you know, get 3 to at least tie, you would assume. But if they're not going to go with Atticus Sappington based on his miss in the first half, then hopefully we can get a touchdown and go up 17-13. And Davison's got 7 carries, Whittington 3, Lamar 3, Harris with 1, and Hill 1. But again, you know, why is Hill not getting the ball as much? Is he hurt? You know, we don't know. Good defense there by Oregon on 3rd down and long. And hopefully we'll be able to capitalize here with a touchdown. Obviously, you know, defense has been good here for Oregon to start off the second half. Let's go, baby. 41-yard punt, return 7 yards as Gary Bryant Jr. shimmy and shakes past one defender and then gets absolutely leveled by another Hoosier. 7-yard return, first down and 10 at the IU 38, and a couple first downs. We should be in business here. Yeah, no, I hear you. 14 for 20, 143 yards, 1 tutty and no picks for Dante Moore. 10 for 18, 110 yards, no tutties and no picks for Fernando Mendoza. Both quarterbacks are top 4, top 5 Heisman finalists with Jeremiah Smith and Carson Beck, as well as Ty Simpson from Bama. And a little screen pass. And DeCorian Moore there getting stifled. And there's Hill, but a loss of 2. Not ideal there. And obviously the defensive line and the defense for Indiana making it tough for our running backs today, which is something that we normally don't see. Loss of 2 by Hill. I want to see him get the ball, but I don't want him going backwards. 3rd down and 9 at the Indiana 37. Dante Moore pass incomplete to DeCorian Moore. 4th down and 9. And again, it shows you, both offenses are normally used to scoring, 40, 50, 60 points a game. It's this kind of rare air, so to speak, when you play defenses that are this good on both sides where, you're kind of in mud and it kind of seems a little unfamiliar, where it's such a low scoring affair, but you got to give credit to both defenses. They're fast, they fly around, they're athletic, they wrap up. And again, there's just not a whole lot of wiggle room up to this point for either offense, Indiana or Oregon's. Chief in the building. What's good? I'm good, man. Mariners ended up beating the Tigers last night on that long stream, so that felt good. I still have a voice, which is great. And Dante Moore on 4th down, pass complete to Jeremiah McClellan, 13 yards, first down, Oregon. Move the chains. Wow. Ballsy. You kidding me? 4th down and 9, and Oregon said, fuck it. Okay. First down and 10, Moore, pass incomplete to Jeremiah McClellan. 2nd down and 10 at the IU 24. Appreciate it, man. The game is on CBS. And Jordan Davison run for 4 yards to the IU 20. 3rd down and 6 for the Ducks. Did you end up watching the whole game or just little pieces of it, Chief? I'm looking forward to the Brewers and Cubs later today, and then obviously the Bucks play the Niners tomorrow. We may do that stream on the channel, and we're definitely doing ALCS Game 1, Mariners and Blue Jays, tomorrow evening. 2nd down and 10, 4-yard run by Davison. And again, that's 3rd down and 6. And we'll see what we have here on 3rd and long. Dante Moore, pass complete to Davison for 4 yards. 4th down and 2 at the IU 16. And based on Sappington's missed kick, we may not, kick the rest of the game. We may just go for it on every 4th down. And again, I don't blame him at this point. You had to give Sappington a chance to prove that he can make a field goal. He missed a chippy, a gimme, extra point range field goal. So I have no problem with the Ducks going for it on 4th down the rest of the way in this game. And they decided to go for the field goal instead, giving Sappington a chance. Kick is up and good. There we go, Sappington. I guess they're not going to go away from him. They're going to give him a second chance. and this time he converts. Now, obviously, if he would have missed this field goal, then they definitely wouldn't be going to him the rest of the game, but I'm happy that he ended up making that field goal. There we go. 13-13 all. Obviously, touchdowns are a premium, and field goals are not ideal, but you'll take what the defense will give you. Great job by Atticus Sappington making up for that missed field goal earlier today. Made from 40, missed from 36. Sappington redemption tour. Yeah. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. You haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 50 to 100 subs. Let's go. I mean, they had a couple guys that have gotten a little bit of action, obviously, with Luke Moga. He was the one that, got the action. And then they've had Austin Novosad, and then obviously Achilles Smith Jr., but you're probably not going to see any of those guys really play. And if you were going to see anyone play, Moga has been the guy that's been able to come in for Dante Moore more times than not. So at least up to this point. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting, closer and closer to the point of, hopefully getting to a natty. We may not win it the first time that we get there, but I mean, this is the first time that, all three of my main teams have been this good, like championship worthy in the last 25 years with the Mariners and the Ducks and the Buccaneers. So pretty cool to see. I know it's not going to be like this every year, but to have three teams that potentially could win a championship, pretty exciting. And then even with the Blazers and Kraken, they're, not on the same level as the other three, but they definitely are starting to get better the last few years. So 13-13 all between Indiana and Oregon. About 7 minutes left here in the third quarter. Black runs for a yard to the Indiana 25, second down and 9. With 7 minutes to go here in the third. Evans and Godwin are out this week. So Emeka Egbuka obviously has already shown he can be wide receiver one. And, you got Sterling Shepard, who, is a kind of an old school vet that can make plays. And Tez will get a chance to play here and there and make plays. But obviously at this point, Tez is going to be like, fourth, fifth string guy. But, if Evans and Godwin are out, he'll be able to get more playing time, and he can definitely help the team win for sure. And we got an Oregon penalty here, defensive pass interference, and that'll be an automatic first down. Jose in the building. What's good? First down and 10. Shotgun set. Mendoza. Little flip towards the sideline. And it's caught. Short gain there. Black run for 2 yards and fumbled and recovered by Indiana. Wow, they're lucky. Third down and 3 at the IU 44. Unbelievable. And on that second down and 5 play, we were able to get that football out, but then it just goes and squirts out of bounds. It would have been nice if that would have been not towards the sideline, but Mendoza run for 9 yards to the Oregon 47. First down, Hoosiers. Move the chains. Mendoza is a baller. 13-13 tie here in the third quarter. About 5 minutes to go here in the third in a very even matchup. Hemby run for 8 yards down to the Oregon 39. Second down and 2 for the Hoosiers. Mendoza pass complete to Surratt, 11 yards to the Oregon 28. First down, Hoosiers. Move the chains. Starting to gain a little bit of momentum here for Fernando Mendoza, the stud quarterback, Heisman finalist for the Hoosiers. And Omar Cooper Jr. run for a loss of 4. Second down and 14 at the Oregon 32. That may be true. They may be, that particular type of record on the road, but this Indiana team is much better this year than they've ever been. Even last year's team was really good, but this team is much better than last year's. They tried to give Ohio State the business last year and just didn't have enough pieces to, keep up in the second half, but that was kind of the beginning, of seeing what Indiana possibly could be. And if you slip on an end around, that's going to be disaster. Mendoza complete to Hemby, 22 yards. First down, Hoosiers, down to the Oregon 10. Indiana about to score. We need the Duck defense to step up here. Mendoza pass incomplete. Second and goal here at the Oregon 10. 13-13 tie. 2:19 left in the third. Second and goal at the Oregon 10. And Mendoza, pass incomplete to Elijah. And we got an 8-yard penalty with pass interference again. First and goal at the Oregon 2, and they should be able to punch it in here momentarily. We're about 1 or 2 plays away here, and there it is. Touchdown, Hemby. 19-13, Indiana. Oregon will have to respond with a touchdown of their own. And it's good to be able to match up and play these tough games, during the regular season. Not every game is going to be, an easy matchup. Extra point is up and good. You have to be able to go and battle, against the best teams, not only in the conference, but also teams outside of the conference once you get to the playoffs. So, if anything, this is good that Indiana is playing this well, for the Big Ten. Oregon's got to make the proper adjustments. And again, the defense has not ran into an opponent like this besides, Penn State. And, we'll see where it goes as the game continues. But, who might have the ball last, could determine the outcome of the game. And also who ends up having that costly turnover possibly in the fourth quarter could end up being the deciding factor as well. But we're still, in striking distance, not really what we're used to, normally, most games where, we usually have some lead, it may not be significant, but, now we have our backs against the wall against a very, very good quality Indiana team. And hopefully we'll be able to find a way to respond here. Nice touchdown there by Roman Hemby. 20-13 Indiana. Gained a few more subs. 21 subs to go to 22,900, 121 to get to 23,000. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats for the best beats on YouTube. The defense is good. You just have to give credit to the other team, Jerry. Not every game, Oregon's going to come in and win by 20 points or more. There's going to be matchups where the games are going to be a war, like with Penn State last week and now with Indiana. Just because, they're not normally a, competitor on the college football side since last year. That was kind of the breakout year where, people kind of heard of them. And, I don't know what you expected going into this game, Jerry, if you thought Oregon was just going to stomp them, but I sure as hell didn't. This is definitely a game that Oregon could lose, regardless if it was at home or on the road. And I do think this team is better on defense, and they're better than last year's team. And again, you can go 12-0 in the Big Ten, but it doesn't mean shit if you have a month off in the college football playoff and then you end up losing. So, if we end up dropping a game or two and still making the college football playoff and kind of doing what Ohio State did last year, that would probably benefit us more rather than going 12-0 in the Big Ten and then having the same thing happen to us last year. I wouldn't want that. So, and Indiana with the kickoff back for a touchback, 65 yards. First down and 10 at the Oregon 25. Now, you also realize that they have a Heisman finalist at quarterback as well. You know, they're the only team in the country that's got a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and top 10 in special teams. And I doubt that you knew that. So, again, if you actually know what you're watching, you know, top 10 offense, top 10 defense, top 10 special teams, they're the only team in the country that's top 10 in all three. So you can't expect, you know, the defense to, you know, have them at a 0 or like a 3 when they're that good this year. You got to know what you're dealing with. 2 minutes left in the third, 2013, Indiana. First down and 10, 6-yard run by Noah Whittington down to the Oregon 31. 6 yards to go to hopefully move the chains. And obviously, normally, you know, we like to be able to go to Hill a lot, you know, giving us that, you know, kind of LeGarrette Blount type of vibe where you can kind of run over guys and whatnot. But, you know, he hasn't really been able to, you know, be a factor today. And again, the running game hasn't really been that great, you know, for really either team at this point because the defense is stifling. Man in motion, 2nd down and 4, handoff again. And a nice gang tackle there. Dante Moore run for 4 yards. First down, Oregon, down to the Oregon 38. Move the chains. Big hit on Dante Moore there. I hope he's okay. First down and 10, pass incomplete to Malik Benson. 2nd down and 10 at the Oregon 38. .34 seconds left here in the third quarter. 2013, Indiana. Let's go, baby. Indiana's defense is very solid. Let's go, Ducks. Got to find a way. I mean, I had 3 games on the schedule circled. I had Penn State, Indiana, and then obviously Washington in Seattle on the road with Damon Williams. That's another game where the Ducks potentially could lose. I still think that this team is one of the best in the country, but again, the Big Ten has some pretty good teams this year. And that's the end of the third quarter. Ducks down by 7. And again, it's been a defensive battle here. 3rd down and 11 at the Oregon 37. All right, baby. Down to the 4th. Something's got to give. You know, and again, you know, I think it might be a good, you know, reality check, you know, for Duck fans that, you know, may not do the research on the opponents, on who they're playing and whatnot. You know, this is a legit team. This is not just some easy opponent, you know, and again, they're 5-0 for a reason. They're 2-0 in the Big Ten for a reason. They're 7 in the country for a reason. And again, you know, it's going to be one of these things where it could come down to who has the ball last. And this is definitely the hardest game that Dante Moore has had to play up to this point, even harder than Penn State last week. You know, we were able to kind of cut through their defense, you know, here and there. And as you've seen this game, you know, both offenses have struggled mightily, you know, and again, we know Oregon can throw up 40, 50, 60 points against shitty opponents, but we're not going against a shitty opponent today. So. End of the third quarter, 2013, Indiana. And a few more subs, 18 to go to 22,900. Let's go. And I don't think Oregon is being outcoached. I just think that the defenses on both sides are very good. So again, you're not able to do whatever you want like you're normally used to when you play shitty opponents. You know, when you got shitty opponents that have shitty O-line and shitty D-line, you can do whatever the fuck you want. But when you actually go against a team that is a baller and a contender, you know, things tighten up and you're not going to be able to do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, that's really how it goes, you know. And again, it's like this Indiana team is very, very good. You know, this is not, you know, some unranked Indiana team that's, you know, 1-4. You know, they're 5-0 for a reason. Indiana. So we're just about to get ready here from the commercial break. Dante Moore sacked. 4th down and 11 at the Oregon 37. I mean, who would have thought you actually go against a team that's good defense, you're not able to put up 40, 50, 60 points? Who would have thought? You know, not every game is going to be like that. And again, you know, Ohio State dropped a few games and they were able to go all the way. So just because you lose in the regular season, you know, it's better to lose a game or two and then play all the way, you know, week in and week out, rather than going undefeated 12-0 in the Big Ten, having 3 weeks off and then getting obliterated. Big sack lunch there by Indiana. Wyatt doing the damage, and Oregon has to punt. Ferguson Reynolds, punt for 53 yards, fair caught by Jonathan Brady at the IU 14. And Oregon's going to need a 3-and-out or a big stop at some point. I mean, instead of thinking that the game is rigged or they're cheating, how about Indiana's a good football team? We can't just give them credit? Come on, my guy. There's no cheating going on. It's just two powerhouses going at it. Fernando Mendoza, pass complete to Riley Nowakowski, 1 yard gain, 2nd down and 9 at the IU 15. So many casual fans that don't understand football. Unbelievable. And Mendoza run for 7 yards. 3rd down and 2 at the Indiana 22. 3rd down and 2 at the Indiana 2013 Hoosiers. And that was a great fake there by Mendoza on the final play. If he would have handed that off, that would have been a loss. And there we go, baby. Intercepted. Go, go, go. Finney. Touchdown, Ducks. Let's go. Let's go. Boom. That's the fucking big play that we needed. That big pick 6 in the 4th quarter. Let's go. Boom. Let's go, baby. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Let's go. Pick 6, baby. We said that earlier in the game. That's what we needed. Brandon Finney Jr. down the sideline. Touchdown, Oregon. Never count us out of a game, period. No matter who we're playing, there's 4 quarters for a reason. Let's go. Go Ducks, baby. Let's go. Extra point is up and good. We're knotted up at 20. Let's go. And that's exactly that shot in the arm that we needed on Fernando Mendoza, even though he is a top 5 Heisman candidate, just like Dante Moore. If you're going to throw on your back foot, you better make sure the ball gets there. And Brandon Finney Jr. says, hey, 35 yards, easy peasy lemon squeezy, touchdown, Ducks. Let's go. Let's go. Great game, you know. That's a cut. .12:42 left here in the 4th, 2020 Hoosiers and Ducks. And again, you know, and the game has been a little bit in mud. You know, there's been offenses that have, obviously had a few plays, for positive yardage and then, kind of stalled. Obviously, the defenses have been great on both sides. Penalties, self-inflicting wounds have definitely been a factor in the ball game as well. But again, the ability to be able to make the big play late, whether it be a fumble or a pick, a fumble for a touchdown or a pick 6, like I was mentioning earlier in the broadcast, and sometimes that ends up being the difference, and we'll see if that momentum, based on that big pick 6 that happened by Brandon Finney Jr., hopefully that'll spark the team in a positive way. And hopefully we'll be able to find a way to dig this one out. Definitely not the cleanest game, not the prettiest game, but again, Indiana is the real deal. Oregon is a championship contender. And again, we'll see what happens here in the last 12 minutes. There always is going to be, no matter what, as the channel gets bigger and bigger, regardless if we do college football, we do baseball, basketball, hockey, NASCAR, wrestling, whatever it is, as you get bigger, that is going to be a natural process, of the channel, which is fine. Let's go, baby. Nice job by Finney. Plus, nobody likes to, see people have joy. People love to see people miserable. You know, if they're miserable, they want to be able to see someone, you know, have something miserable happen to them. So, but, you know, I got 3 championship teams this year with the Mariners, the Ducks, and the Buccaneers. So, you know, nothing can ever be said to me that's going to bring me down. And even the Kraken and the Blazers, you know, even though they might not be championship caliber, they should be better than last year, which is, you know, going to be fun to watch those teams as they get better and better each year as well. And Roman Hemby run for 2 yards to the Indiana 27, second down and 8. And this is going to be a key drive for Indiana to put up points after the pick 6, if they can. And obviously Oregon is going to try to force another turnover or a punt at some point here in the fourth quarter. Punt, TD, interception for Indiana here in the second half. Fernando Mendoza, pass complete to Omar Cooper Jr., 9 yards. First down, Hoosiers. Move the chains. Fernando Mendoza, pass complete to Roman Hemby for 2 yards. Down to the Indiana 38. Second down and 8 with about 11 minutes to go. What a battle. Fun game, you know. And again, you know, I like watching games where there's always a chance to lose. You know, when you go into a game where you know you're going to win by 30 or 40, you know, you can kind of get up for it early, but then, you know, you kind of lose. I don't want to say you lose interest, but it's just not as exciting, you know, as a game like these. Penn State, Indiana, and then Washington at the end of the year, where you know you legitimately have a chance to lose. Those are the ones I always look forward to. Mendoza pass complete. Little short gain there. 3-yard gain. Hemby run for 3 yards to the Indiana 42. Third down and 4 as the clock keeps ticking here. 10:43 left in the fourth. Knotted up at 20. Blue Jay in the building. What's good? No, I'm not going to do the Brewers and Cubs because I don't want to lose my voice. I might do Niners, Bucks on top of, you know, Blue Jays and Mariners tomorrow, but I got to see how my voice feels. But I do have the Brewers winning tonight at home over the Cubs, even though I think both teams are amazing this year. Third down and 4 at the IU 42. I'm actually surprised I actually even have a voice today after doing 15 innings of the Mariners and Tigers last night, but you know, did honey, did some tea, and I feel pretty good. Third down and 4, Mendoza. And I don't know where they're going to spot that, but we got a 5-yard penalty here. Offsides on Oregon. Fuck, man, self-inflicted wounds. Come on now. Absolutely worst time for a penalty there. Automatic first down for the Hoosiers. First down and 10. And Kalen Black run for 2 yards to the Hoosier 49. Second down and 8 with less than 10 minutes to go. These casual fans have never seen a good quality matchup of 2 ranked teams play before. Golly. First down and 10. And there's that 2-yard run there by Black. We've already gotten the 1 pick 6 that kind of swung the momentum, but we got to see what we can do here. Black again run for 7 yards to the Oregon 44, third down and 1 with 9:13 left here in the fourth. And a big false start there on Khalil Benson. We take that. Let's go back 5 yards. 3rd down and 6 at the Oregon 49. .58 left here in the 4th quarter. Oregon with a pick 6 moments ago to be able to get the game tied up at 20. Obviously, a missed field goal by Atticus Sappington early in the first half. That was extra point range, and he went wide left. And Mendoza pass complete to Elijah Surratt, 13 yards. 1st down, Hoosiers. Move the chains. 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 36. This is a nice drive here by Fernando Mendoza, and we need Oregon to come up with a big, big play again. They're getting closer and closer to getting to field goal range, and again, it may come down to who has the ball last. Got to get some pressure on Mendoza. Mendoza and Surratt got a good connection together. You can definitely see that. Roman Hemby run for 4 yards to the Oregon 32 on 1st down and 10. 2nd down and 6 at the Oregon 32. 8:03 left here in the 4th. And again, nice momentum here after throwing the pick 6. Not being afraid to be able to throw the football and gain some good yardage here for the Hoosiers and Fernando Mendoza. We need someone to step up and punch this football out or get a pick at some point. And we got a false start by Drew Evans. We'll take that. 2nd down and 11 as they go back 5 yards. Self-inflicted wounds for the Hoosiers, and Oregon has had a few self-inflicting wounds as well with some PIs and whatnot. One that wasn't called in the 1st quarter, and Indiana fans lost their minds, but they've gotten like 3 or 4 since, so everything is evened out. 2nd down and 11 at the Oregon 37. .708 left here in the 4th. Fantastic game, one of the best games of the year prior to last week's game against Penn State with the whiteout. And pass complete from Mendoza to Surratt, 29 yards. 1st down, Hoosiers down to the Oregon 8. Mendoza looking like a Heisman finalist, which he is. Came into the game with 16 touchdowns and only 1 pick, and definitely one of the top guys in the country with Dante Moore, Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver from Ohio State, as well as a few other guys like Carson Beck and Ty Simpson from Alabama. Great blocking downfield there. Surratt is a boss. He's got a lot of athleticism out there. Mendoza pass complete to Omar Cooper Jr. 2nd and goal at the Oregon 8 with about 6:33 to go here in the 4th. Got to try to hold them to a field goal. I agree. And this is definitely one of the best performances against the Oregon defense that I've seen all year. Surratt, very, very good player. Mendoza pass incomplete on 3rd and goal. Kind of confusing why they're throwing the football. They should just keep running the ball if they wanted to get in the end zone, as that one gets tipped up and incomplete. But again, we know Mendoza's got a great arm, and he's got all the confidence in the world. You know, after throwing a pick 6, he's not afraid. But it would kind of make sense for them to run the ball, you would think, based on the success they've had on this drive. But, I mean, if they're going to throw incomplete passes, we'll take that. We just need one more stop to hold to a field goal here. 3rd and goal at the Oregon 8. Come on, Oregon. We need that defense. .627 left in the 4th. 2020 tied up Indiana and Oregon. And Oregon got a pick 6 to tie the game up minutes ago. And we got a timeout called by Indiana, probably the most crucial play for Indiana up to this point in the game. Yeah, Bryce Miller pitching game 1 since he was the only guy that didn't pitch yesterday. Not ideal, but again, that's what we have to do. And plus, after going 15 innings, it's going to be hard to win game 1 with everything that happened. Everyone played. The team is going to be a little tired and fatigued, even with a little partying last night. So, but anything is possible tomorrow. And hopefully Oregon can come up with the big play here. A fumble, a pick, a sack, or hold them to a field goal. And then hopefully, we'll be able to, do the same, to tie it up 23-23 at the very least. But obviously, if they score a field goal, we're looking for the win, 27-23 if we can get it. But Indiana's defense and offense have been very good today. And again, I knew this was going to be a war and a battle, just like Penn State last week. And again, if anything, it's not that, Oregon isn't good. I think is that Indiana needs more respect from people that don't know who they are. They are a legit team that's 5-0. Number 7 in the country for a reason. And if you watched Indiana last year when they played Ohio State, they hung tough in the first half, but then couldn't get it done in the second. An 8-yard touchdown pass to Elijah Surratt. Touchdown, Hoosiers. And again, for Oregon to be able to match head-to-head, toe-for-toe, we're going to have to go with a touchdown on our end now as well. And again, remember, Fernando Mendoza is a Heisman finalist. He's not just some random quarterback. So, great job by Indiana here today at Autzen, putting the pressure on the Ducks. And this is the type of game that we needed. Not every game is going to be a 30-point blowout. You need games to challenge you. And we had that yesterday or last week with Penn State. And obviously we got a battle here with Indiana. And I think that last game of the regular season against the Huskies as well. Surratt is a boss. He's got great chemistry with Fernando Mendoza. Extra point is up and good. And again, remember, going 12-0 in Big Ten play and having 3 weeks off and then losing is not ideal. So again, if you end up following the blueprint of the Buckeyes last year, you can lose a game or two and then make the playoff, play every week, and then win it all. That would be a better formula than just going 12-0, in Big Ten play, sitting for 3 weeks, and then just getting obliterated like every team that had the bye last year, unless they change the format in the college football playoffs. So, if you end up losing in the regular season, better to lose then than in the playoff. And a great job by Indiana, to be able to show other teams in the country and also Duck fans that are unaware, this team is for real and they are good. And it's good for the Big Ten, that we actually have another team that, that can maybe take Michigan's spot, for example, and show that they can be one of the top dogs. (27-20) Hoosiers. Plenty of time for the Ducks, to find a way to tie this game up. And again, if we're going to end up winning this game in regulation or in overtime, it's going to have to be the defense. The defense has got to make big plays. They already got 1 pick six to kind of get us back into the game. And, running game hasn't been as smooth, but that's because the Indiana defense is really good. And again, not every game is going to be a 20, 30-point blowout. Again, college football this season, it's kind of similar to the NFL. You have no undefeated teams. Everyone thought for the first, few weeks, the Eagles and Bills are the best teams in football. And yeah, for the first few weeks of the season, it looked like that. But now, fast forward a few more weeks until now everyone is kind of on the even same level. Like you don't really know, who the best team in football is. Are the Eagles still a great team? Yeah. Are the Bills still a good team? Yeah. Did the Eagles get their ass kicked by the Giants? Yeah. The Lions and the Bucks and a few other teams have maybe caught up. But again, the season is long. And again, a lot can happen between now and then. Same thing goes in the college football realm. You can be good, for the first few weeks, but again, it does take a lot to be consistent throughout the whole year. Do we go for 2 if we get the touchdown? No. I would go for the extra point. And 65 yards with the kickoff there. And that is a touchback. First down and 10 at the Oregon 25. That's crazy. Only 45 total yards in the second half. Not something that we're used to. But again, remember, Indiana, they're the only team in college football that has a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, top 10 in special teams. And 99% of the people on planet Earth don't know that stat. So again, when you see the score, 27-20, Oregon is down, it kind of makes sense. So, it's not like this is a team from, 5-10 years ago. Indiana started to break out last year. And even though they didn't beat the Buckeyes, they tried to hold their own. And again, it's nice to be able to see teams, break through, after so many years of, maybe mediocre to below average football. They're the real deal this year. And they were good last year as well. And we got a penalty here on Oregon. Second down and 14 at the Oregon 21. Not ideal here. Offensive line for Oregon is definitely getting beat. And the D-line for Indiana has been very good today. All right, penalty is declined. Sacks allowed 1 through all of the games in the season. We've given up 6 today. So it shows you how good Indiana's defense is. 1 all year, and we've given up 6. And our offensive line prides ourselves on not, giving up those type of, plays like that. Oh, big interception. More. And this one might be over. We'll see what happens with Indiana. Big play by the Indiana defense. And again, we had a pick 6 on our end. And the last thing that we needed was a fumble or an interception here in the fourth quarter at home. Great job by the Hoosiers, by Lewis Moore. And now we're going to have to pray that we can get it back. We can't let them score at all. Got to get a fumble and a pick, a fumble for a touchdown, a pick 6. But that might be the beginning of the end for Oregon here today. If you actually look at the landscape of this game, Indiana has outplayed Oregon at almost every facet of the game. They have been very, very good. We got a false start on the Hoosiers. On Nowakowski. First down and 15 at the Oregon 37. And Mendoza run there for 8 yards down to the Oregon 29, second down and 7 with less than 6 minutes to go. Yeah, still time, but obviously, we haven't really been able to prove that we could stop their defense. And obviously their defense has been obliterating our O-line, which we've never seen up to this point. Only had 1 sack given up on the O-line all year, given up 6 today, and then had that terrible pick off the deflection. So, and Hemby run for 3 yards to the Oregon 26. And again, it's not one of those things where you have to go undefeated to go all the way. Ohio State proved that last year, and obviously if we end up taking an L, it's better to take the L during the regular season and then to be able to build off, what you did wrong and how to get better, rather than just going 12-0 and then having 3 weeks off and then getting obliterated by an opponent. So, We definitely learned a lot, that Indiana is for real, and we got a lot of things to be able to look over, as we go into next week. Mendoza pass complete to Nowakowski for 4 yards. First down, Hoosiers. Jerry with a tour. I disagree. Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Another $2 holla. I mean, this is what happens when you play a team that's got a good offense and a good defense and a special teams. First down and 10 at the Oregon 22. I mean, do you think there's any offensive coordinator other than Stein that would have been able to throw up, 500 yards on Indiana? Fuck no. They're top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. Again, when you play a good team, regardless on who your coordinator is, you're not going to be able to make those big, easy plays, those splash plays with the running game and the passing game when you play a shitty opponent. Indiana is a good team. You could still have Chip Kelly calling plays, and it wasn't going to make a difference today. I mean, especially if the offensive line and defensive line are getting burnt, on almost every fucking play. If you're not winning the line of scrimmage, you're not winning the game, period. And we haven't been able to win the line of scrimmage all game today. I mean, sometimes you just got to give credit to the other team. It doesn't have to be, fire this guy or fire that guy or the team sucks. How about give credit to the other team for being the boss and being really good this year? It's good that Oregon had a little wake-up call, because we easily could have lost that game on the road to Penn State. I mean, everyone knows that. Hemby with a run of 6 yards, second down and 4 to the Oregon 16. And obviously, if they end up punching it in for a touchdown or field goal, that's going to be about the beginning of the end of Oregon in this particular week. .348 left in the fourth quarter. Indiana playing a perfect game top to bottom. And again, this is the first time that we've seen Dante Moore struggle. But again, it's really the offensive line, got pushed around. And normally those, plays that we typically get out of our running game, those big 30, 40, 50-yard runs, sometimes that lead to touchdowns, and those big explosion throws that, Dante Moore usually has time. He hasn't had time to go through his first, second, and third progressions like he normally does. And that's a credit to Indiana's amazing, defense, and obviously their offensive line and defensive line have won the game. You win the line of scrimmage, right? You win the game. And again, you can have a great quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, but if you're not winning the line of scrimmage, you're not winning the game, period. And it's disappointing. I've been a fan of Oregon since the 80s. I want to win this game more than anyone, but again, we haven't really deserved to win this one. And Oregon is not overrated. Nice try, though. Hemby with a loss of 1 to the Oregon 12, second down and 11 with about 3 minutes to go. People are so shocked that Indiana actually has a good football team this year. But again, it definitely shows you who knows football and who doesn't. If you ended up watching them last year against Ohio State, and it definitely is disappointing. You want to be able to try to win all your games, but you have to make sure that you bring it. And again, if you can't win the line of scrimmage, you're not going to win. And we were lucky to even get that pick six to kind of get it close, but this will be a big learning curve and a game that they'll be able to watch the tape and go back and realize why we lost this game. And it's not, just Dante Moore throwing that pick late, but, we only gave up 1 sack all year out of all the games, right? In 5 games, 1 sack, and obviously gave up 6 today, so.
Taking a little break. Then I'll get back after it. That's a good idea. Actually, that looks really good. Make it to active cash credit card for Wells Fargo. Need to take cash rewards on purchases. The terms apply. They're going to run the ball inside. You can see the standings right here. Outport coming in here. I'll take team in here. This is a big win. If you finish this off, it should get to 2-minute warning unless Knight makes a mistake.
Timeout is called. That short yard gain from Hemby there. Timeout is called. Third down and 8. Ducks down by 7. 2:55 left. Down at the Oregon 9. Yeah, but again, this is what happens when you play a top 10 team on offense, defense, and special teams. So 5-yard run from Roman Hemby down to the Oregon 4, 4th down and 3. And I think real Oregon fans knew at some point or another between Penn State, this game, and Washington at the end of the year that there was a chance that you're going to drop a game or two, even as good as Oregon has been up to this point. And timeout is called. I got Brewers winning at home. It'll be Brewers, Dodgers, and obviously we already know that it's Blue Jays, Mariners, and I'll be live at 5 Pacific tomorrow for that matchup, ALCS game number 1. 200, appreciate that. another 10 subs, 8 subs to go to 22,908 to get to 23,000. But definitely the first game where we've gotten pushed around on the O-line and D-line, and we actually have to be thankful that we're only down 7. We definitely could have lost this game by 14 or more. But there's no excuses, no cheating, nothing like that. Field goal is up and good. 30-20 Indiana. I mean, they earned every single yard. Obviously both teams had some self-inflicted wounds with some penalties, false starts, and obviously PIs, by Oregon, one that wasn't called early, and Indiana fans were losing their minds. But, again, I knew that there was a very good chance that, the Hoosiers could win this. And again, since they are the only team in college football, top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams. But I think a very small percentage of people even knew that going in. And now, obviously, winning the line of scrimmage, we're about 206 away from a big upset and a huge win for Indiana on the road. Good for them. Obviously not great for us, but we'll be able to recover, and we'll be able to find a way to get in the win column next week. Anybody can beat anyone on any given day. And we did beat Ohio State in the regular season, obviously at Autzen last year, and then we lost in the playoffs. So, and we even beat Ohio State on the road, when we didn't even have Kayvon Thibodeau. So you either know sports or you don't. Apparently you don't. Yeah, Indiana's head coach is, great, passionate, fiery. And obviously, the thing that you notice the most out of Indiana this year, compared to pretty much last year, is just the speed that they have on the offense and defensive side. They run sideline to sideline. They got a lot of guys, that are locked in. And they were good last year, but this year they're great. And that's a touchback there. First down and 10 at the Oregon 25. Yeah, but the thing is, everyone that's complaining about Will Stein, if the offensive line would have played better, we would have been able to make more plays and more intercepted again. And yeah, this one is definitely over. Indiana. And that is ball game. And again, we haven't seen Dante Moore play like this, but again, we've never seen the offensive line play so poorly. But again, it's because Indiana's defense and their D-line is amazing. Defense wins games, defense wins championships. I mean, you still could have had Chip Kelly calling plays and you're still losing this game. And Mendoza takes a knee. And we'll be just fine. Like I said, it's an eye-opening loss, but you didn't win the line of scrimmage. And this is what happens when, you can't give your quarterback enough time, to go through the progressions. And again, better to lose now than losing the college football playoffs. So. 30-20 Indiana. Big win. One of the biggest wins in the program's history, and they earned it. They deserved it. No excuses. They were better on the O-line. They were better on the D-line. Defense was better. We were lucky to get the pick 6. Otherwise, we would have lost 30-14. And, again, back to the drawing board. Again, it's hard to be able to go undefeated in any sport. And like I said, I would rather lose now than lose later. And again, things need to definitely change. But again, you're not going to go against a team like Indiana every week. So. And obviously one of the poorest games for Dante Moore, 17 for 28, only 163 yards, 1 TD, 2 picks, had no time to go through his progressions. And then the running game really wasn't very good today either. And I'm not really sure why Hill didn't get more opportunities, if he was hurt or not, but that was kind of the eye-opening stat. Like, why is Hill not, the lead back in a game like this where we have to have that physicality up front? But, you got to give all the credit to Indiana. They earned it today. And another kneel down there. 3rd down and 17 at the Oregon 34. I really do like Indiana's head coach as well. Got a lot of fire and passion, and you could see it last year, when they played Ohio State. Just didn't have enough, top tier talent to match player for player against the Buckeyes. But you could see it was kind of the beginning of something. And then obviously getting a better quarterback this year and, more talented pieces, on the O-line and the D-line. And it definitely has made a huge difference for the Hoosiers in 2025. And Mendoza takes another knee. 4th down and 22 at the Oregon 39. Got about a minute left here. I'm looking forward to the Brewers and Cubs coming up. Should be a good one. And then tomorrow we'll either do the 49ers and Bucks first, and then the ALCS, or I may just do the ALCS with the Mariners and the Blue Jays, and that'll be at 5 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. It'll kind of depend on how my voice is feeling tomorrow and whatnot, but I'll definitely be watching. All right, 1st down and 10 at the Oregon 44, down by 10, 32 seconds to go. Dante Moore back into the game. Pass complete to Gary Bryant Jr. for 3 yards. Down to the Oregon 47. Second down and 7 as the clock ticks down. Dante Moore pass complete to Noah Whittington for 5 yards. Third down and 1 at the Indiana 47. Dante Moore pass incomplete. Fourth down and 1 at the IU 47. Yeah, everyone acting like the sky is falling just because Oregon lost a game. We'll be just fine. I love when people have comments that don't understand football. You know, again, if your offensive line gives up 6 sacks today and gets dominated on that side of the ball and they've given up 1 sack all year, there's the reason. You know, if you can't protect your quarterback and not open up the holes for your running back and your wide receivers, it's going to be a long day. 8-yard pass to Kenyon Sadiq for a first down. First down and 10 at the IU 39. You know, we don't need a new offensive coordinator. It's not like Dante Moore is terrible. You know, we played a good team. Like, why can't people give the other team credit when they do something well? Why does it always have to be, oh, this guy needs to be fired or this quarterback's not good? It's one game. Golly. 6-yard pass from Moore to Whittington. Second down and 4 at the IU 33. Sometimes you just got to give credit to the other team that they have a great squad this year. And that is it. Final score, Indiana 30, Oregon 20. Congratulations to the Hoosiers. Fantastic. You know, they won on every aspect of the game. Offense, defense, special teams. They're the only team that's in college football that's in the top 10 in all 3 categories. And it showed today. You know, Dante Moore didn't have time. He had way more sacks than he's ever seen. 1 all year, 6 today. And again, the defense was lucky enough to get that pick 6. But at the end of the day, you have to give Indiana credit. They are the real deal this year, and I hope that they have great success, obviously, the rest of the season. Unfortunate that Oregon ended up losing by 10, but, you know, if you can't win at the line of scrimmage, you're going to lose every single time. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. And again, I will be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific for the ALCS, Seattle Mariners versus the Toronto Blue Jays. And I got one question for you. Who you know talks sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Congratulations to the Hoosiers, and I'm out. Go Ducks.